The water light was released too hastily and couldn't completely stop Yimo's falling mark sword rune. The sword rune sliced from Zhu Guangxi's shoulder. Half of his body flew off. "Castle Master Dong, save me," Zhu Guangxi said. Dong and set up a barrier around himself. Those explosion essence chi were blocked by the barrier, but he acted as though he didn't see this rooftop being opened. He said slowly, "I said before City Lord Zhu attacked that I wouldn't be helping either sides. I'm a man of my words. Immortal friend Hung." Zhu Guangxi immediately looked at Hung Ran and barely released his water light again. Thud. These were Zhu Guangxi's last 3 words. His water light exploded before he released it, and his body was turned to bloody mist by Yimo's space-lethal force. The next moment, Yimo took a storage ring and appeared back on his seat. The group sat in this open sky palace, but no one dared to speak now. Other than those who knew Yimo, everyone in the Hung God Corner were scared by Yimo's attack. Yimo killed a Tao Nourishment Divine Emperor in just about 10 seconds. That Tao Nourishment Divine Emperor City Lord, who was about to get revenge from Yimo, didn't have anything left of him after 10 seconds. Yimo looked at Hung Ran and said, "You're the strongest at Hung God Comer? I accidentally blew up your guest palace roof." It's fine, small matter. If the old doesn't go, the new won't come. I'll just build a new guest palace." From the looks of it, Yimo really killed the Duting God sect leader alone. Hung Ran definitely wouldn't doubt that Yimo dared to annihilate his Hung God Comer. But Yimo didn't care and said with a sunken face, "You're fine with it, but I'm not. I told you before. I came to look for trouble. I've already killed one. I don't mind killing more." Yimo knew the survival laws here. If he didn't have power, he would have long been killed. If he had this power and still acted timidly, people would look down on him. Hung Ran sighed. What was to come eventually came. He didn't even think about asking for help from Dong In. He knew the two were much closer. If Tower Master Yi has anything, just make an order. If anything from the Hung God Corner offended Tower Master Yi, I will definitely not let them go. Then, Hung Ran palmed down and the Tao Molding Divine Emperor who wanted to attack Yimo was palmed out a few thousand meters. Seeing that Tao Molding Divine Emperor spit blood mid-air, people knew that Hung Ran didn't hold back. Yimo didn't even look at Hung Ran's act and just looked at Nyo Runen's mother. "I'm friends with Runen and I saw her on the way. I heard you were kept here by force and they robbed your heaven fate Tao fruit. Is that so?" Hearing this, Hung Ran's face changed. He finally realized why Yimo came to here. Yimo came for the heaven fate Tao fruit. He definitely wouldn't believe Yimo came to save Nyo Runen and her mother. Realizing this, Hung Ran stared at the 2 other Tao Nourishment Divine Emperors and asked, "What is this?" If it was someone else standing up for the mother and daughter, this Tao Nourishment Divine Emperor would dare to bullshit, but he saw Yimo's power clearly. If he dared to tell any lies, he would be immediately killed. Realizing this, he got up and said, "Because we knew that Runen and her mother got a Tao fruit, so we had bad intentions. We know we were severely wrong to do this and we're willing to give the greatest compensation." Embarrassment. The Tao Actualization Divine Emperor cursed. If he really got the Heaven Fate Tao fruit, he might have the chance to reach Tao Essence Divine Emperor, but now Yimo knew about this. Nyo Runen got up and said, "The Tao fruit isn't on us. It was taken by a Tao Nourishment Divine Emperor." That Tao Nourishment Divine Emperor then purposely spilled the chi of the fruit to make us the scapegoat. Nyo Runen's mother quickly added, "That Tao fruit was indeed taken away and I have some impression of that person." Hearing this, Yimo knew that she didn't dare to say who took it before. This meant that the Tao Nourishment Divine Emperor was quite possibly here. "Tell me, even if you think that Hung Ran took it, no one would dare to touch you," Yimo said coldly. Facing Yimo's extreme condescension, Hung Ran was extremely furious, but he didn't dare to attack. Yimo said this because he wanted to annihilate the Hung God Corner, but haven't found an excuse yet. Nyo Xianxia pointed at the Tao Nourishment Divine Emperor who didn't speak and said, "I don't believe I'm wrong. It's him." "Bullshit. I never even saw the Heaven Fate Tao fruit," this Tao Nourishment Divine Emperor said. This was no joke. If he pissed off Yimo, he would lose his life. Hung Ran's face sunk and he looked at the Tao Nourishment Divine Emperor. "Xianxia? Be honest. Did you take the heaven fate Tao fruit? Grand sect leader, it's definitely not me. The Tao Nourishment Divine Emperor said without hesitation. Xianxia was experienced. She knew that she had to be firm with her ground. She got up and said without hesitation, I have a power, and that is if I touch any man, I would never forget his chi. Runen's face was red hearing this. She knew that her mother was quite promiscuous and had been with many men. So, she was very sensitive to men's chi. Yemo didn't think about that. He knew that after reaching Immortal Emperor, people almost had no smell on them, only chi. Xianxia was extremely furious and wanted to accuse Xianxia. Then, he felt a powerful twisted ripple fall from the sky that completely locked onto him. Great Primordial God Rune. Xianxia was scared soulless at this moment. The ferocious name of the Great Primordial God Rune was too great, and now, the Great Primordial God Rune appeared in the Hung God corner. In that instant, he wanted to run away by force, but Yemo's Great Primordial God Rune was tens of times stronger than before. His body was locked by the lethal force of the Great Primordial God Rune, and that twisted space still sliced across his arm. The next moment, his arm appeared before Yemo, and Yemo pulled off a storage ring by force. That arm was thrown on the ground like hay. Hung Rail's fury was completely quenched by that Great Primordial God Rune. He only had endless terror. Yemo had the Great God Art Great Primordial God Rune. Such ferocious God Rune wasn't something he could deal with. He was certain that, if he fought Yemo, even if he wasn't instantly killed, he would definitely die. Just who was this Yemo? He was too terrifying. Hung Ran just wanted to send Yemo out as quickly as possible. Yemo wasn't something they could take on. As for joining up with the Shui Yun God City against Yemo, he gave up this idea after seeing Great Primordial God Rune. Yemo's spirit sense blades quickly broke the storage ring restriction and took out a jade box. When he opened it, there was a yellow Tao fruit sitting in the middle. Heaven Fate Tao fruit. Almost everyone recognized this. Xianxia's face went terrifyingly pale. Bastard! Piss off! Hung Ran seemed extremely furious and palmed Xianxia, who flew out. But halfway he was punched back by Yemo. Not a rush. Let's sort things out first. Hung Ran was scared of Yemo immediately killing Xianxia and wanted to slap him away, but Yemo dragged Xianxia back. Now even Dong and said nothing. Although he knew that Yemo killed the sect leader of Duting God sect and was probably a bit stronger than him, he didn't really mind. He believed that even if he was no match for Yemo, he could run away. But now that he saw Yemo's Great God Art Great Primordial God Rune, he immediately knew that if he fought with Yemo, he probably wouldn't be able to get away from the Great Primordial God Rune. When one reached a higher level with the Great Primordial God Rune, it could not long seal space, twist space, but even lock and twist realms. The name of this ferocious God Art was too terrifying. Now, he thought of the Great Primordial God Rune Tao fruit Yemo gave him. He immediately knew that it wasn't that Yemo didn't need it. It was either Yemo had too much or he wanted to know about the Void Marketplace too much. Tower Master Yi, this is the fault of the Hung God Corner. It's right for you to be angry. We're willing to be completely responsible for this. Then, he came up to Xianxia and saluted with his fists, Immortal friend Xianxia. This is the fault of the Hung God Corner. We're willing to make compensations. Xianxia breathed easy. Regardless, with Yemo here, they would no longer be locked up at the Hung God Corner. Yemo was rude to Hung God Comer, but she didn't dare to be like that. She quickly returned the favor, no need for compensation. I just want to leave here with Runen. I just hope the Hung God Comer won't look for our trouble in the future. Hung Ran rejoiced, but before he could talk, Yemo sneered. If you leave so easily, then aren't you too easily abused? Runen. Runen got up and said, Martial Brother Yi, I've been taken care of by the young mistress and I owe her a lot. This can be let go. Oh. Yemo glanced at Hung Wanman, who didn't dare to talk. You've already paid her back at the Muhua God Mountain. Hung Wanman's face looked bad. Even though she knew that Runen left Hung God Corner due to what happened at the Muhua God Mountain, but when it was spoken out, it was something else. Yemo said to Hung Ran, if you mess with me, I wouldn't be so easy to talk to. But since Runen is willing to let it go, then never mind. Compensate however much you need to compensate. Hearing this, Hung Ran quickly took out 2 storage ring and gave it to the 2. This is a small gift. Please don't reject it. The 2 knew that with Emo here, they wouldn't be able to reject it, so they took it. Emo gave the jade box to Xianxia. This is your heaven fate Dao fruit. It's returned to you. How could she take it? Xianxia quickly said, Tower Master Yi, we don't dare to take it and we can't take it. Thank you for helping us. It's yours. Emo didn't hesitate and took it. Okay. In that case, let's go. Dong En and Hung Ran weren't surprised that Emo took the heaven fate Dao fruit. Hung Ran wanted Emo to go, but he could still only say, it was our honor for Tower Master Yi to arrive at the Hung God Corner. Dong En got up and said, thank you for your treat, immortal friend Hung. I'll be leaving with Tower Master Yi. Farewell. Outside the Hung God Corner, Dong En saluted with his fists, immortal friend Yi. I'll be off now. I'm out to go to the God Necropolis domain to prepare to break through to Dao Essence Divine Emperor. I believe you're going to the Void Marketplace, right? Perhaps we will meet again there. Emo saluted with his fists. Then good luck on reaching Dao Essence Divine Emperor soon, but it's not easy to come out of the God Necropolis domain after going in. Dong En didn't explain how to come out. He just said a few more words and left. 3 months later, the space-time boat passed a new divine Dao city. Nyo Runin and her mother left the boat and said goodbye. Emo let them go and dashed off on the space-time boat. We were lucky for Martial Brother Yi. If it wasn't for him, we probably couldn't leave the Hung God Corner. Nyo Runin sighed. Xianxia sighed, Runin, your friend is really good. He helped us a lot. Martial Brother Yi is a very nice person. He would rather suffer a loss himself than let friends suffer a loss. Nyo Runin said. Xianxia patted Nyo Runin's shoulder. Runin, Tower Master Yi is indeed a good person, but not someone who would rather take a loss for himself. You've seen too little people. The men I've seen. Mum, can you mention something else you've seen? Nyo Runin frowned. Her mother was much prettier, but she really didn't like her promiscuity. Plus, Martial Brother Yi is indeed a good person. If he isn't nice, there are no nice people in the world. Okay. Xianxia saw that Nyo Runin was sided with Emo and stopped. She hesitated before saying, if Tower Master Yi is really the type of person you said him to be, he wouldn't take the heaven fate Dao fruit. Of course, even if he did take it, his character is the best I've seen. Nyo Runin frowned. He gave it to you, but you didn't want it. Plus, what do we need that Dao fruit for? Xianxia poked Nyo Runin's head with her finger. You idiot. What use is the heaven Dao fruit for? Dao vindication, of course. We have so many God crystals and cultivation resources now. You would soon be able to reach Immortal Emperor peak stage, and then you can use the Dao fruit to vindicate Dao. If the Dao fruit is left with Martial Brother Yi, it would have greater use. Nyo Runin said. Let's not take about this, we'll go to the city and rent a cultivation home and start solitary cultivation. It's a waste not to use these things. Xianxia said. Okay, Nyo Runin took out a jade box from the storage ring. Isn't this the jade box for heaven fate Dao fruit? Nyo Runin was shocked. Don't open it. Xianxia was experienced and quickly took the box. Before her spirit sense went in, she saw the words, Runin, you got this Dao fruit. Now I give it back to you. Vindicate Dao quickly. Nyo Runin immediately said, since when did Brother Yi put the box in my storage ring? How come I didn't know? Put it away quickly. After Nyo Runin put the box away, Xianxia sighed. It seems I'm wrong this time. That Tower Master Yi is really the type of person you said he was. Humph, I knew it. How can I not know Martial Brother Ye's character? He wouldn't care about a Dao fruit. Nyo Runin said. Xianxia sighed. I thought wrong of him. The reason he took it and then gave it back to us was because he was scared people would come after us. I've met so many men. How come I didn't meet Tower Master Yi? If I was with him, then... Mom, can you stop being so embarrassing? Nyo Runin's face went red and she left. Emo was flying faster and faster. Dong En's jade slip said he needed to leave the Divine Dao realm and enter the Void to find the Void Marketplace. You couldn't leave the realm from anywhere. Even though the Divine Dao realm was broken, it was still boundless. The direction towards the void marketplace was set. If you missed the point, then even with the location disk, you wouldn't be able to find the right location. Golden Immortal Primary Stage. Emo opened her eyes in joy. She put away her Immortal Carnage Tower and Formation Disc before walking out of a distant valley. Ever since she was scared by that 9-headed void-devouring bug, she didn't dare to go out. She had been hiding in distant places. Emo, like Emo, grew up from all kinds of fights. She knew the hardship of cultivation and knew survival was hard. If it wasn't that 100 kilometers dark red beam that drove away the 9-headed void-devouring bug, she would probably be dead. Feeling the danger of the immortal realm, she chose to go into solitary cultivation immediately. She collected more than 100 storage ring in the Bing Cheong Immortal City. She got large amounts of immortal crystals and immortal artifact from inside, as well as all sorts of immortal pill. Due to these things, she was able to reach Golden Immortal Primary Stage in such a short time. The things she collected were far from being used up. Emo released a low-grade flying immortal artifact and was ready to find a place with people to ask about Emo. She had never seen an immortal she could talk to after all these years of immortal ascension. A few days later, a huge immortal city appeared in Emo's spirit sense again. Emo had never seen such a grand city. The 4 words by Immortal City hung high in the clouds. Many immortals were going in and out of the city. This name was really good, Emo thought as she landed at the city gates. When she got to the door, she was dazed. At the city gates, there was a purple gold statue that was taller than the city, and the statue was her father Emo. Next to the statue were some immortal essence words. Emo Grand Emperor's Immortal Ascension City. There was a very precise introduction. After Emo ascended from the cultivation realm, the first city he came to was the Bai Immortal City. There was even his old residence. It was written by the one Jew Heaven Lord Gu Baiwen. Although in her heart, her dad was the strongest person in the world, but she knew that was just what her thought. In fact, she knew her father was much stronger than many people. When she saw the statue, she knew that if her dad wasn't strong, there was no way he would be made into a statue here. Emo became excited. If Dad's statue was here, then it wouldn't be hard to find him. You know him? A voice suddenly appeared next to Emo. Of course. Emo subconsciously answered. Then she realized things weren't right. She knew no one here. She subconsciously turned around and saw a blue-robed woman who was slightly taller than her. She wore a blue veil on her face, but Emo was shocked. Even though she hadn't seen this woman's beauty, she felt amazed from the bottom of her heart. Emo was extremely pretty-looking herself, but she knew she wasn't as good-looking as Susu and Auntie Xianxia. This woman made her feel that just in terms of looks, even Auntie Susu was not as beautiful as her. Yet, she hadn't even seen how this woman looked. But then she shook her head. It must be a wrong feeling. The blue-robed woman frowned and sighed at the bottom of her heart. Why does every pretty woman know him? Qian Bei? I'll be going in the city first, Emo said. She felt this blue-robed goddess was countless times stronger than her. Even if she was to ask for her dad's whereabouts, she wouldn't ask this Qian Bei. The blue-robed woman smiled. Let's go in the city together. I'm Zhen Bingyu. Don't call me Qian Bei anymore. Just call me sister. Emo dazed, but she quickly reacted and said, Yes, Sister Bingyue. I'm Emo. Emo? Your surname is Yi. Zhen Bingyu subconsciously looked at Emo's statue and asked, Emo, what relationship are you with Brother Yi? Brother Yi? Emo immediately realized that this Qian Bei knew her dad. She was speechless. She thought the same. Why did every pretty woman she meet knew her dad? Yes, Sister Bingyu, Emo is my dad. I just ascended to the immortal realm and I'm planning to find my dad. Emo said. What? You're Yemo's daughter. Zhen Bingyu looked at Emo in disbelief. But she soon calmed down. This was normal. If Emo was willing to be with her at the time, maybe their daughter would be this old. Perhaps she would have a son with Emo? Sister Bingyu, do you know my father? Emo asked. She then saw Zhen Bingyu blush a little, and immediately knew that she must have some special relationship with her dad. Oh, yes, I'm Brother Ye's friend. Is your mum Su Jingwen? Zhen Bingyu asked. Emo immediately asked in joy Sister Bingyu. You know Auntie Jingwen? Where is she? Hearing this, Zhen Bingyu immediately knew that Yimo wasn't Su Jingwen's daughter. This meant that Yimo had other wives. Zhen Bingyu felt a little bitter and pulled Yimo's hand. Yimo, let's go find a place to stay in the city and talk. Sister Bingyu, no wonder my dad is friends with you. Yimo felt that Zhen Bingyu didn't have any condescension. Zhen Bingyu smiled and didn't explain. She wasn't like this when she first met Yimo. She changed due to Yimo every time she felt lonely. She would think of the times she was with Yimo. That was the happiest moments of her life. If time could flow back, she would rather stay with Yimo or get carried by him. She searched for higher states and been to many places over the years, but she had never met someone like Yimo. Perhaps there were, but Yimo was unique to her now. In an immortal rest tower, Yimo saw Zhen Bingyu's looks and was amazed. Sister Bingyu, you're really pretty. Zhen Bingyu smiled. Yimo, you're very pretty too. To me, looks is just a skin bag. I don't care about it much. Zhen Bingyu then started to tell Yimo about Yimo and MOU Immortal sect. She told Yimo everything she knew. Sister Bingyu, you're saying that Beiwei and Auntie Jingwen are all at MOU Immortal sect? My dad went to the God Necropolis domain. Yimo felt sad. She didn't get to see her dad. Yes, your dad went to the God Necropolis domain, but it's not easy to get there. Only immortal emperors can get to the God Necropolis domain. The God Necropolis domain is much more dangerous than the immortal realm. It's boundless, and even immortal emperors are insects there. These words made Yimo gasp. She wasn't just a newly ascended noob anymore. From the jade slips in the storage rings, she knew the cultivation levels of the immortal realm. She even derived her own cultivation method to Golden Immortal. Immortal Emperor was the highest status immortal being, but in Sister Bingyu's words, they were insects in the God Necropolis domain. Wouldn't Dad be in danger to go to the God Necropolis domain? Sister Bingyu, my dad is only Immortal Emperor cultivation level. Wouldn't it be dangerous for him to go to God Necropolis domain? Yimo asked. Zhen Bingyu smiled. Yimo, don't worry. He's different to ordinary people, I know him. Hearing this, Yimo finally felt more assured. She really wanted to ask if Zhen Bingyu was husband and wife relationship with her dad, but she felt she shouldn't ask such things. She would go back to MOU Immortal sect and asked Auntie Jingwen. MOU Immortal sects Su Jingwen and Tang Beiwei are now at the Chaos Star realm. If you go to MOU Immortal sect, you probably can't find them, Zhen Bingyu said. She could tell Yimo wanted to go find them first. Zhen Bingyu didn't go to the MOU Immortal sect, but she cared a lot about the news there, especially people related to Yimo. Where's the Chaos Star realm? Yimo asked. It's a place for trial that can allow people to break through quickly, especially body refinement. Zhen Bingyu spoke as she thought of the times she cultivated body refinement with Yimo. Sister Bingyu, I want to go there too. I want to hurry up and reach Immortal Emperor and go find my dad. Yimo said. Zhen Bingyu looked dazedly at Yimo. When Yimo went, he was at least Golden Immortal middle stage, but now Yimo was only Golden Immortal primary stage. But she soon said, okay, I'll go alone with you. I'll teach you body refinement and take you to dig immortal crystals. She thought of the times Yimo carried her to dig immortal crystals. Although she didn't care about those immortal crystals, she still remembered this. Only she and Yimo knew of that place, and she had been there more than once. Every time she went to the Chaos Star realm, she would go to the places she had been with Yimo. Yimo was shocked. She knew that usually, someone as powerful as Zhen Bingyu couldn't go with a Golden Immortal primary stage to a place for trial. Wouldn't that waste too much of your time? Yimo asked. Zbya smiled. No. Brother Yi cultivated body refinement with me and dug immortal crystals with me. Now, I'll go with you. Sister Bingyu cultivated body refinement together. Yimo realized. Zhen Bingyu's face froze for a moment and knew she said the wrong things. What did cultivating body refinement together mean? Most body refinement meant you were naked. She didn't care about this before as she only pursued Dao, but now she did. Seeing Zhen Bingyu's awkward face, Yimo quickly said, Sister Bingyu, then come with me. You can teach me body refinement. Of course. My body refinement cultivation method came from Brother Yi. Now I'll just give it back to you, Zhen Bingyu said. Seeing Zhen Bingyu's extremely beautiful face, Yimo sighed. If this was on Earth, this was unimaginable. Yimo didn't know about Yimo meeting with Zhen Bingyu. He was answering some of Fu Fei's cultivation questions. Fu Fei progressed very fast with Yimo's tutelage. Going to the Divine Tao realm border wasn't a matter of a day or two. Even with Yimo's middle-grade flying god artifact, it would take a few years. Fu Fei went back to cultivation after asking questions. Qing Ru and Mu Xiaoyun's state was low, and they had the best cultivation resources, so Yimo suggested them to stay in the Golden Page world. Yimo separated the chaos chi of the Golden Page world. Fu Fei and them knew Yimo's Golden Page world wasn't simple, but they didn't think it was a chaos world. They all thought it was a truth spirit world. With the God Spirit range-powered spirit gathering formation and large amounts of resources, everyone's cultivation speed was fast except for Shadowless and Qiurang. Ever since Shadowless could speak, Yimo tried to stop it from devouring Essence Spirit. It could help speed up his progression, but Yimo knew there were side effects to this. Those Divine Emperor Essence Spirits he killed were impure. The more Shadowless devoured, the more damage it did to him. Essence Spirit and Emperor Tao Crystal was different. One couldn't simply devour it. In order to make Shadowless evolve, he would need to use real treasures or find energy that has no self-will. Yimo flew the space-time boat while practicing forgery at the front. To him, forgery or pill concoction or even traveling was a type of cultivation. Divine Emperor and Immortal Emperor were two completely different levels. Immortal Emperors needed large amounts of cultivation resources and mastery of God art, but Divine Emperor not only needed cultivation resources but also understanding of Tao. No matter which Tao you choose, the Tao you vindicate determines the height you reach. Even if you break through a small bit, you would need to have a deep understanding of your Tao. Yimo didn't use Tao fruit nor God art law to vindicate Tao. He severed all sorts of useless laws and god arts and eventually used the Chaos world to fuse his body with Chaos and vindicate the Chaos Tao. Through that, he then came back to perfect his Chaos world. Because he used himself as the Tao foundation, he could learn anything in any world to perfect his Tao. Time flew by. 6 years later, the space-time boat was near the border of the Divine Tao realm. Yimo's spirit sense scanned to some buildings. Yimo thought that the realm border to the Void Marketplace would be very barren, but when he came here, he realized this wasn't the case. There was actually quite some people. Yimo slowed down the space-time boat. Fu Fei woke up now. Yimo's spirit sense scanned the Golden Page world and found that Qing Ru had reached Great Eternity Immortal Tertiary stage. Qing Ru and Mu Xiaoyun both didn't use Time Formation Disc. Qing Ru and Mu Xiaoyun came out of the Golden Page world. Yimo wasn't sure if people went to the Void Marketplace from here, so he called everyone out to prevent people knowing he had a truth spirit world. People could live in the small world and cultivation homes, but no one would stay there for long-term cultivation. If these people suddenly appeared, it would make people suspicious. Yimo landed from the space-time boat and immediately caught people's attention. Those who came here were without a doubt going to the Void Marketplace. Dong'an said it was usually Tao Nourishment Divine Emperors who went to the Void Marketplace, but Yimo saw many Immortal Emperors here. There were even some Immortal Monarchs. There was not a single Great Eternity Immortal like Qing Ru. But soon Yimo understood what Dong'an meant. Although there were Immortal Emperor and Immortal Monarchs here, they were clearly with Tao Actualization Divine Emperors. The reason this group caught attention was that the strongest of them was Yimo, who seemed to only be Immortal Emperor power. Immortal Emperor taking a Great Eternity Immortal to the Void Marketplace? This was a huge joke. For friends, have you come to find people or find a place to stay? A cunning-looking Immortal Emperor middle stage came up to them. To him, Yimo and them were definitely not going to the Void Marketplace, but here to meet up with Sec Chen Bais. No, we want to enter the Void from here and go to the Void Marketplace. Yimo said. What? Not only was this Immortal Emperor middle stage shocked, but everyone else nearby. 2 Immortal Emperors, 1 Immortal Monarch and a Great Eternity Immortal was going to the Void Marketplace? This was suicide. You guys are going to the Void Marketplace? This Immortal Emperor asked. Yimo could only repeat yes. We're going to the Void Marketplace. The Immortal Emperor finally realized that he didn't hear wrong and said, "Did you book a spot?" "Book spot?" Emo asked in confusion and said, "We're gonna fly over ourselves. We didn't book." The Immortal Emperor middle stage realized that Emo and them knew nothing. He said speechlessly the lowest requirement to the Void Marketplace middle-grade flying god artifact was before. Now, it's very hard to go to the Void Marketplace alone. The Immortal Emperor looked at the three behind Emo and shook his head. Emo could tell that the news he got from Dong En was a little different from reality. Seeing this Immortal Emperor about to leave, he quickly asked, "Immortal friend, may I ask why it can't be done anymore?" This Immortal Emperor was a nice person and explained, because the Void Realm to the Void Marketplace isn't very stable. Ordinary flying magic artifact would dissemble mid-flight. Only large vessels could stay intact in this void. This was before. Now, there are Void Pirates on the way to the Void Marketplace. They knew that the people heading to the Void Marketplace had many good things, so they rob people on the way. If you go to the Void Marketplace alone, then even if you get close to the Void Marketplace, you would die for sure. Emo realized what he meant and knew that Dong En didn't lie to him. Dong En went to the Void many tens of millenniums ago. At that time, the Void Pirates weren't that strong. Plus, Dong En was from the Great Sun God Mountain. They probably had an extremely powerful flying magic artifact. Dong En didn't say this probably because he thought that he was a pill divine and it wouldn't be hard for him to get on. Then why are these people here? Emo pointed at the people going to and fro. The Immortal Emperor laughed. There aren't many ships flying to the Void Marketplace. There are limited spots too. There would be a vessel once every 100 years. These immortal friends are lining up for the ship. Lining up for 100 years? This is so long. Mu Xiaoyun took in a cold breath. How much longer till the ship comes? Emo asked. 2 more years. If you really want to go to the Void Marketplace, you would have quite some luck on the ship. The Immortal Emperor smiled. Emo sighed, indeed. Since there's only 2 years, we'll order tickets too. Thank you, Immortal friend. The Immortal Emperor's face was a little awkward. Immortal friend. By 2 years I meant the ship that's about to head to the Void Marketplace. The tickets were sold out a few decades ago. If you want to buy tickets, you would have to order tickets for the ship 102 years later. Line up for 102 years? Emo sighed. The Immortal Emperor shook his head and didn't answer. This wasn't very long. Soon it would be lining up for 200 years. The demand for tickets to the Void Marketplace was increasing. Who could be sure people wouldn't mass buy tickets and resell them? Emo knew that going to the Void Marketplace wasn't as simple as he had thought. So he saluted with his fists to this Immortal Emperor. Immortal friend. Do you know if there's a mortal rest tower here? We need some rest. There are. What sort of rooms do you want? A low-grade room costs 500 top-grade god crystals a day. Middle-grade room costs 1,000 top-grade god crystals. Top-grade costs 5,000 top-grade god crystals, and small ginseng costs 10,000 top-grade god crystals. The Immortal Emperor's face went bright hearing there was business. Emo took in a cold breath. This price was too absurd. How much would 1 year be? How much would 10 years be? Was this robbery? Were all the people here that wealthy? How come no one was living outside the buildings? As though seeing Emo's confusion, this Immortal Emperor explained, "Those who bought the ticket would live in this area. You guys haven't bought the tickets, so you don't have to stay here, but I suggest that you stay here. It would be much safer." Emo nodded. He understood that the large area of buildings here weren't for free. It was made to serve the people heading to the Void Marketplace and to earn their wealth. According to this Immortal Emperor, there seemed to be danger if you didn't stay here. Although the price here was very high, Emo could afford it now. So he said to this Immortal Emperor, "Give me 3 middle-grade rooms." Huh. This Immortal Emperor was a little stunned, but then he said happily, "Okay, follow me." He thought the 4 of them would at most stay in the same low-grade room together, but they were actually wealthy. Even some powers and sects only took middle-grade rooms. For weak immortals not only lived in middle-grade rooms but didn't have a sect to back them up. This immediately spread out. Emo didn't know about this. He stayed in here not to wait for the ship but to see if he could buy some materials and upgrade his spacetime boat again. Even if he couldn't upgrade speed, he would upgrade defenses. Of course, he also wanted to see if there were people who wanted to sell their tickets. Emo didn't think that Immortal Emperor was bullshitting. In the void, he might encounter powerful beings from any realm. No matter how confident he was, he didn't think he could dominate all of the void between the realms. There definitely was Tao Essence Divine Emperor on the ship to the void marketplace, and maybe more than one. The middle grade room was pricey, but the God Spirit Chi here was ample. There were all sorts of immortal spirit tea and wine. Of course, that would come at extra costs. Stay in room and cultivate. I'll go down and have a look, Emo said to Mu Xiaoyun and them. Now, Fu Fei had a room, Qingru had a room, while Emo shared a room with Mu Xiaoyun. Emo learned that although there were a lot of buildings here, all shops belonged to powers here. There were a lot of immortals living in this row of immortal rest tower, and at the very bottom was a lounge. There were people coming in and out doing deals, discussing cultivation and resolving conflict. Emo was going to this lobby now. He needed to find out some news. If he really couldn't upgrade space-time boat and couldn't buy a ticket off someone, he would go into the void alone. He had to go to the void, and he wasn't willing to wait another 100 years. Emo saw here that although there were a lot of people, it wasn't noisy. There were sound barrier restrictions set up everywhere. In the middle of the lobby, there was a round sign spinning. It wrote what was needed and what was rewarded. Immortal friend, do you want to put up a sign? If you do, I can help you. An extremely pleasant voice sounded. Emo saw a pretty-looking woman and immediately said, yes. I want to write out my needs on the sign. I need top materials to forge flying magic artifact. Second, I need 4 tickets towards to the void marketplace for the ship 2 years later. Put this at an obvious place. The reward is... Emo hesitated and said, those who wants God crystals, we can discuss in person. Emo wanted to say Dao fruit. He had one, but he gave up this thought. This wasn't Luanlan Divine Dao City. Even if he said he only had one, who knew what consequences would arise. His cultivation level wasn't the strongest here. Emo saw that, in this 1,000-people lobby, there were tens of Dao Actualization Divine Emperors. Although there were no Dao Essence Divine Emperor, this was still very scary. Okay, if it's headline, then it costs 50k top-grade God crystals for a day. The pretty woman said. So expensive. But Emo could only give her 100k God crystals. Please be seated at 764. We'll immediately put the sign up for you, the pretty woman said. Although it was just a seat, it was quite a good position and had a table. There were seats on all sides of the table. Emo was very happy with this. Emo just sat for a while, and Qingru and Mu Xiaoyun came to the lobby. Their cultivation level was too weak and didn't dare to scan around with spirit sense. They only dared to look around for Emo in the lobby. Mu Xiaoyun was extremely pretty and cultivated for many years at the Immortal Goddess Peak and became even prettier. Qingru even surpassed Mu Xiaoyun. Her perfect body was unique to this world. As soon as they stood in the lobby, they caught many attention. 2 goddesses. I'm Feng Yingwei from the Tsangyu God Valley. May I ask if I can help you? One Dao Molding Divine Emperor saw the 2 and immediately came up. Qingru smiled. Thank you, Chen Bei, but we don't need your help. Xiaoyun, Qingru, come here. Emo got up and called. The 2 immediately came over, happily leaving behind Feng Yingwei, who was going to keep talking. Seeing these 2 pretty goddesses go over to an immortal emperor, he frowned but didn't go over and instead found a position in the lobby. Brother Yi, why are you seated here? Qingru saw the lobby was filled with thousands of people who were all stronger than her. She felt worried. Sit. I bought some things here. Then Emo took out a wine kettle and a few cups, pouring a cup for them. Then, she said in surprise and joy, Brother Yi, this wine seemed to be able to help with cultivation. Emo nodded. This was made with cornersoul weed and blue plum, as well as many top-level immortal spirit herbs. How could it not be good? Could cleanse essence spirit and immortal essence. Mu Xiaoyun had drank it many times but still loved it. She pointed at the round sign and asked, Husband, is the first sign what we're going to buy? I paid for 2 days of advertisement here. I'll see how it goes first. Emo thought that if he could get the materials, he would stay here for a year or 2 and forge flying magic artifact. If he couldn't, he would take them into the void in a few days. Brother Yi, the ticket might not be easy to buy. Qing Ru saw the sign wrote 4 tickets. I know. I'm only testing my luck, Emo said. Good wine. Your wine is probably made from blue plum and commercial weed, right? The manufacturing process is immaculate. Definitely from the hands of a master. As they spoke, a red-faced man walked up to Yi Mo's seat and saluted with his fists. This was a Tao Nourishment Divine Emperor peak stage. Just from his red face, one could see he had drunk a lot of wine. He just smelled the wine and knew of its components. He was definitely a wine lover. If Emo had the time, he would invite this person to drink, but now Emo didn't plan to. Seeing Emo just smile and not talk, this Tao Nourishment Divine Emperor didn't go and laughed. Immortal friend, I heard you set up the first news, but even if you keep it up there till next year, no one would come to you. If you listen to me, I'm certain people would come to you in a while. Xiaoyun, come sit next to me. Let this immortal friend sit, Emo said. Mu Xiaoyun quickly sat next to Emo. Seeing this, the Tao Nourishment Divine Emperor sat down and smiled. I'm Xianxia. I'm going to the Void Marketplace to test my luck too. Emo took out a cup and poured him a wine and said, So it's immortal friend Xianyu. I'm Emo. I don't know much about going to the Void Marketplace. Please teach me. Qing Ru saw that Xianxia sat opposite her and quickly got up and sat on Yemo's right. Thank you, immortal friend Yi. Xianxia raised the wine cup and drank. Seeing Qing Ru sit next to Yemo, he raised his thumb. Immortal friend Yi, you have nice skills. But you might not know what the people who want to go to the Void Marketplace want. Those who are going there aren't lacking God crystals. It definitely won't work if you trade materials with God crystals. Emo realized what the problem with his notice was now. He sighed. It seemed that if he didn't take out some good things, he really wouldn't be able to get the things he wanted. Thinking about this, Emo said to the goddess, change my reward. If one has the materials I want, I'm willing to use a near top-grade god artifact Changji Extreme Yang Flag or 7-star Huangji Well to trade for it. If there's top-level materials, I'm even willing to use more precious things to trade. Even Xianxia was dazed at the things Emo took out. He didn't expect Emo, an immortal emperor, to have this many good things. Immortal friend Yi, you really shock me. Pity I don't have flying magic artifact materials or I would take it out myself. Xianxia sighed and drank the cup. After that, Xianxia seemed to have thought of something and got up in shock. Immortal friend Yi. That Changji Extreme Yang Flag seems to belong to the sect leader of Du Ting God sect Wei Xian. Emo smiled. Brother Xian is really knowledgeable. You're right. Then why is it in your hands? Xianxia's hands were shaky. Clearly he was too shocked. Because I slaughtered him, Emo said directly. Since he took out some good things, he would need to show his power. Otherwise, he would be very annoyed. Xianxia's face showed extreme shock. Even his redness receded a little. He didn't expect this immortal friend Yi was this absurd. He didn't dare to stay here and drink. Before he could say goodbye, another coarse voice sounded. You want to use the Extreme Yang Flag and 7-star Huangji Well to trade flying magic artifact materials? The voice seemed as though if Emo didn't answer right, he would attack immediately. The powerful force made Mu Xiaoyun and Qing Ru's face green. A few other divine emperors who were going to ask heard this voice and saw a green-robed old man come. They all subconsciously stopped. Emo raised the cup and the pressure on Mu Xiaoyun and Qing Ru was easily waved away. After drinking the wine, Emo said slowly, I have these 2 things, but I'm not trading for flying magic artifact materials but flying magic artifact top materials. If you want my things, I would have to agree to the materials. If you want both of it, you would need to bring the right materials or no deal. Ha 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 ha. A small immortal emperor is very cocky. The green-robed old man sat down on the empty space. Seeing this green-robed old man come over, Xianxia quickly got up and saluted with his fists before leaving. The old man didn't even seem to see Xianxia and glanced at Qing Ru and Mu Xiaoyun before his eyes lit up. He said plainly, take out your things and show me. This was a Tao actualization divine emperor peak stage who seemed even stronger than Wei Xian, but to Emo this old man wasn't that much stronger than Wei Xian. Emo poured a cup of wine for himself and put away the kettle. He didn't pour a cup for the old man. Not only that, he finished his cup first before saying, "This is my seat. Who are you?" The old man sneered, "You're very bold." "That's right, you probably don't know who I am." "Then, I have a title called Green-Robed Divine. You're finished, you can go now." If this wasn't the lobby, Emo would have shot 7 arrows at him and killed him. Hearing this, Xianxia pointed at Emo and said in disbelief, "You're a mere immortal emperor, and you dare to tell me to go? I'll give you 3 seconds. Show me the extreme Yang flag and 7-star extreme well." Emo frowned. He didn't know if one could fight here. He wasn't scared of this Xianxia, but if a Tao Essence Divine Emperor came, he would be no match. "Why should I show you my things?" Emo sneered. "Didn't you want flying magic artifact materials? I have plenty, choose what you want." Xianxia waved out materials on the seat. This seemed like a large pile, but they were all low-grade materials like Void Secret Silver, Extreme Lightning Gold. There was even level 2 immortal material Blue Windstone. The highest material Extreme Lightning Gold could only be used to forge middle-grade immortal artifact. Emo didn't expect this Xianxia was this shameless. Emo was ready to fight, but he didn't plan to attack first. If this Xianxia attacked first, he would beat him to death. Emo felt annoyed. If he was strong enough, he wouldn't need to care. He would just fight. "Xianxia, do you think you can do whatever you want at my ship God Harbor, just because you have some power?" An angry voice sounded. Emo saw it was a white-skinned, narrow-eyed skinny man. He was Tao Actualization Divine Emperor Peak Stage 2. Xianxia saw this man and smiled. "Manager Wenluan, you're being too serious. I'm just discussing business with this small friend. How can I cause trouble? It seems this friend isn't happy with what I took out. I'll change it up then." Then, Xianxia waved away these materials and took out a basketball-sized white ore and said, "Little friend, what do you think ofo this ore?" "Small ginseng truth cloud sand." The nearby people exclaimed. It was very white and had no impurities. It had this ethereal chi. Even those who didn't know forgery knew this was material for making the best flying magic artifact. Emo's eyes narrowed. This was definitely what he wanted. It was level 12 immortal material. With this large piece, even if he couldn't make the space-time boat top-grade flying god artifact, it wouldn't be far from it. The manager was also shocked too. "This is small ginseng truth cloud sand. It's enough for you to make 2 top-grade flying magic artifact. Of course, if it's just trading your extreme Yang flag and 7-star extreme well, I feel I'm losing. I don't know how much 7-star extreme well you have, but I believe it's not much. I won't be greedy. I'll just take the god." Emo's killing intent exploded, and he said to Xianxia, "Piss off. You're asking to die." Xianxia exploded too. Before he could attack, that manager said coldly, "What? Do you want to fight at the lobby?" Xianxia immediately calmed down. He knew people couldn't fight here. He grabbed his truth cloud sand and left. But he didn't leave the lobby, he just found another place to sit where he could see Emo. The manager glanced at Emo and said nothing before leaving. Emo acted as though nothing happened and kept chatting to Qingru and Mu Xiaoyun while drinking. Feng Yingui saw that Emo dared to tell the green-robed divine to piss off. He got up and left. Xianxia was even more certain that Emo killed Wei Xian to get the flag. Otherwise, how could he dare to speak to the green-robed divine like this? Perhaps due to Xianxia, no one else came to Emo for trouble. A day was about to pass. Emo was very disappointed. Just when Emo was about to leave, a Tao Actualization Divine Emperor Primary Stage middle-aged man came up to Emo and saluted with his fists, "Immortal friend. I like your extreme Yang flag. Do you think this can trade for it?" He took out a storage bag. Emo scanned inside. There was a red feather. Emo's spirit sense touched it, and he immediately felt a powerful yet light chi from it. Emo chi feather. Emo immediately recognized it was a level 12 immortal material. This could be used to forge top-grade god artifact. It was on par with Xianxia's truth cloud sand. In terms of rarity, the feather was rarer. Sure. Emo took the feather without hesitation and took out a black flag to the Tao Actualization Divine Emperor. The Tao Actualization Divine Emperor took the flag and scanned his spirit sense inside the restriction. His face rejoiced and he put the flag away. He then saluted with his fists and left the lobby. Emo was also very happy he got this. He knew there was no point in waiting anymore. He called that maid over and refunded 50k god crystals and took Mu Xiaoyun and Qing Ru to his room. After coming in, "Are you going to leave?" Mu Xiaoyun looked at Emo in confusion. Emo nodded. "I'm going out for a while. After I come back, I will be going in solitary cultivation." Mu Xiaoyun seemed to know what Emo was going to do and just said, "Be careful." Moments later, Emo walked out of the Immortal Rest Tower. He looked down as he walked out of the ship god harbor. He watched behind with his spirit sense. Xianxia had been watching Yemo's room. He was thinking about how to go in and kill Yemo. By then, he would just give the manager some benefits. He didn't believe the manager would look for his trouble for a few immortals. But he didn't even dare to dream that Yemo dared to leave the harbor. Regardless of why, he immediately chased Yemo. He guessed that Yemo had means or stealthed his power and intentionally drew him out, but he didn't fear Yemo. There was no way Yemo was a Tao Essence Divine Emperor. Yemo was scared that Xianxia wouldn't come. Now that Xianxia came, Yemo breathed easy. The skinny Tao Actualization Divine Emperor, who stopped Xianxia from attacking, saw Yemo dare to leave the harbor and dazed. When he saw Xianxia follow Yemo out, he sneered. He doesn't know what death is. It was unclear if he was talking about Yemo or Xianxia. Yemo didn't leave the harbor very far. He stopped where he would barely avoid the spirit sense of Tao Essence Divine Emperor. In the Divine Tao realm, due to space fissures and messy laws, spirit sense would be limited. Yemo reached hundreds of thousands of km away in a very short time. "You drew me here probably because you have a lethal blow, right? Don't disappoint me. But of course, regardless, after I kill you, I will be taking your 2 women. Xianxia sneered at Yemo as his hand waved out a black arc. Yemo actually couldn't see what that arc magic artifact was. His spirit sense blades pierced in and found it was a dense cluster of needles. The dark needles seemed to be shaking with killing intent. "I believe your friend will come here in 15 minutes, right?" Yemo sneered. He knew that the reason Xianxia dared to come here was 1, he wasn't scared of him, but 2, because Xianxia brought someone along. "You're very smart, but in less than 15 minutes, I will be going back." Before Xianxia finished, Yemo attacked. Yemo had decided to kill Xianxia as quickly as possible. He was alone here, and if another person came, it wouldn't benefit him. He was certain that, if things dragged out, even that manager would come. "You're right, it won't take 15 minutes. Yemo said and shot over 2 great primordial god runes. He could now barely release a 3rd one, but Yemo knew that doing that wouldn't allow him to kill Xianxia in the shortest time. 2 great primordial god runes would definitely injure Xianxia but not kill him. It would startle this guy. Yemo couldn't release the terrifying name of the great primordial god rune yet. To him, it would be enough just to scare Xianxia. 2 twisted god runes instantly sliced open Xianxia's domain. In the wake of the god rune, space-time law had completely disappeared. All that was left in space was 2 twisted runes that ignored space and ignored time. Great primordial god rune? Xianxia's face changed. Luckily, he was experienced in battle and didn't turn away immediately like others. The countless abstruse essence needles drew the black arc into 1 kilometer long that covered the path of the great primordial god rune. The needles weren't defense magic artifact, but he had to use it to defend now. Thud thud. The great primordial god rune hacked on the needle arc. The twisted god runes opened 2 twist arcs on the black arc and kept shooting at Xianxia. But due to the needles, Xianxia had released a huge seal defense magic artifact. As soon as he released it, he felt this terrifying killing intent lock onto him. Golden Bow of Divine Extermination. Xianxia couldn't raise any more courage to fight Yemo anymore. He was certain that Yemo was a Tao Actualization Divine Emperor too. With these 2 terrifying ancient means, who knew if Yemo had more? Rumble. The 2 great primordial god runes were hurriedly blocked by Xianxia's seal and slowed down a bit. But the reason great primordial god rune was so feared wasn't because it could be blocked, but after you blocked it you didn't know its path. At the extreme, the great primordial god rune would ignore space-time law. Sometimes, it could cross multiple realms to kill an opponent. After these two runes were blocked, it twisted space and hacked at Xianxia from another direction, but it was just much weaker than before. Xianxia couldn't even attack Emo with the needles nor take back his seal. He quickly released a shield and used mobility technique. The reason Emo used Great Primordial God Rune and Golden Bow of Divine Extermination at the same time was to kill Xianxia in the shortest time. Otherwise, even if he killed Xianxia, it would take a long time and he might get injured. He didn't have any friends here, but who knew how many friends Xianxia had? The instant Xianxia turned, Emo shot out 3 arrows. He had 7 arrows. Emo believed that, with the Great Primordial God Rune attacking Xianxia, he didn't need to use 7 arrows. Golden beams sliced across and penetrated the needles that weren't controlled by Xianxia. Xianxia tensed up. He felt the surrounding space turn into a cold hand that squeezed his neck, making him unable to breathe. His mobility technique was locked and he couldn't continue using it. Xianxia knew clearly that this was the lock of the golden arrow of divine extermination. If possible, he would rather beg for mercy, but he knew that doing that would make him die faster. He didn't understand why this random person who came here had such terrifying means. Crack, crack. Xianxia's shield barely stopped the first rune. The second rune sliced under his waist. Blood mist sprayed and half his leg was gone. Xianxia cursed. If there wasn't the golden bow of divine extermination, the 2 great primordial god runes wouldn't be able to slice off his leg. If the 2 great primordial god rune couldn't damage him, he would be able to retaliate. However, there was no if in this world. Just when Xianxia flashed this thought, the first golden arrow appeared before him. At this moment, all the life force in Xianxia's surrounding space had been annihilated. The world before him was gray now. Lifeless gray. Xianxia roared and smashed out both hands. Fist winds punched out and rippled against the golden bone arrow. The golden bone arrow seemed to have met resistance and slowed. The surrounding life force seemed to have recovered. Crack. Space crumbled, and the golden bone arrow sliced across one of Xianxia's fist. One of Xianxia's hand started to disintegrate. Xianxia couldn't care about it now. He wanted to release another defense magic artifact and run away, but an even colder killing intent locked onto him. Before he could still find some life force with his punch, but now he had no chance. 3 golden bone arrows came before him at the same time. Xianxia looked at this in despair and lost the will to fight. Thud. Blood splashed everywhere and Xianxia's body exploded. Then, he heard the words, "It seems I have overestimated you." Even if Xianxia was angry, he couldn't express it. Emo took Xianxia's storage ring and his needles before burning the marks of the battle and disappearing. Emo knew that although it seemed easy for him to kill Xianxia, he used all his means. Luckily, Xianxia only made him shoot 4 arrows. Although he used some stamina, he wouldn't need to stop and recover. If Xianxia came with someone else, Emo wouldn't dare to use such means to kill Xianxia quickly. After Emo left, he ate a few essence chi recovering god pills and went back inside the harbor quickly. That white-skinned narrow-eyed manager saw Emo come in alone. He thought that this person would definitely be dead when Xianxia went out. He said that Emo was asking to die, but this little immortal emperor came back, but Xianxia didn't. What was going on? Wait, where is Xianxia? This manager stopped Emo and asked coldly. Emo looked at this manager for a while and said, "How would I know? I have some conflict with him. I wouldn't care about him." "I know, what did you go out to do?" The manager's tone was cold. Emo said plainly, "I've paid to live here. Do I need to report to you for going out and peeing? Did I sell myself to you, or are those who live here restricted from even doing anything?" This manager was lost for words, but Emo went inside the Immortal Rest Tower slowly. He didn't keep asking Emo and quickly left the harbor. In a short while, he arrived at the place Emo and Xianxia battled. Just looking at this burnt place, he took a cold breath. He was certain that Xianxia was killed, but that Emo killed Xianxia in such a short time, this was unheard of. Unless that Emo wasn't an immortal emperor. No, he definitely was not an immortal emperor. He was at least Tao Nourishment Divine Emperor or stronger. No wonder he dared to go to the Void Marketplace alone. Realizing this, the manager quickly returned to the harbor. "What are you doing here?" Emo stared coldly at the Tao Molding Divine Emperor standing in front of Qingru's room. He knew this person. This guy spoke to Xiaoyun and Qingru when then came down. This guy was called Feng Yingui and was from the Zhongyu God Valley. He clearly knew that Shintashinda went with Emo and didn't expect Emo could come back. He planned to get one person before Shintashinda came back. When Shintashinda came back, he wouldn't offend the Zhongyu God Valley for a woman. However, before Shintashinda came back, this Emo came back. "So it's a mortal friend Yi. I'm here to find." Feng Yingui was lost for words. "Piss off." Emo kicked and Feng Yingui spat a mouthful of blood. When he landed on the ground, he didn't dare to say anything. He left quickly. He wasn't dumb. Shintashinda left with Emo, but Shintashinda didn't come back. Emo came back instead. Not many people cared about Shintashinda going missing. Most people here were waiting for the ship towards the Void Marketplace. At this moment, Emo was organizing his things in the Golden Page world. He got tens of millions of top-grade god crystals from Shintashinda's storage ring, but there was only one middle-grade god spirit range. Emo had nearly 100 million god crystals now. The god spirit herbs and materials in Shintashinda's storage ring interested Emo, but Emo still favored the Truth Cloud Sand the most. After getting this, Emo was prepared to upgrade the space-time boat again. Little Blue couldn't met the Murder Dao Spear, but he could easily melt level 12 immortal material and forge top-grade god artifact. In order to increase defense, Emo almost completely changed space-time boat's look. Not only were all the rooms changed, but all the formations were either switched or empowered. A year later, Emo looked at this completely different space-time boat and finally breathed easy. With these two extreme grade materials, space-time Bao was forged into a top-grade god artifact, one that had very high defense. It was also due to his formation skills that he was able to upgrade the space-time boat to a top-grade god artifact. When he sealed the tunnel between Immortal Realm and Divine Dao Realm, his formation skills skyrocketed. Emo knew that he shouldn't even think about tickets to the Void Marketplace. Now that his flying magic artifact was finished upgrading, he could head to the Void Marketplace. Emo left the Golden Page world and found that both Qingru and Mu Xiaoyun were in the room. "Husband, you finished solitary cultivation?" Mu Xiaoyun got up in surprise and joy. Qingru came over to ask some cultivation questions. Mu Xiaoyun didn't cultivate and helped Qingru answer them. Then, they spoke about Emo. Mu Xiaoyun spoke about Emo's story from Earth to the small world. Qingru loved it. Emo nodded and said, "Yes, Xiaoyun, call out Fu Fei. We're leaving now." Hearing this, both Qingru and Mu Xiaoyun were a bit nervous. After all, there were many people who were stronger than them, but they didn't dare to flying into the Void Marketplace with a magic artifact. Fu Fei soon came out, but he wasn't nervous at all. He was eager for this. "What? You're heading to the Void Marketplace now?" The Immortal Emperor looked at Emo and them in disbelief. Even if it was 4 Dao Actualization Divine Emperor peak stage, they wouldn't dare to head to the Void Marketplace like this, but Emo and them wanted to do this. "Yes, there's no tickets, we have to go alone," Emo said. He wasn't very worried. He had been in the Void for a long time. He had all sorts of experience inside. Plus, even if there was an emergency, he would go into the Golden Page world. The main thing was that he had the location disk. Emo and them going to the Void Marketplace caused a commotion in the harbor. Only very few Dao Essence Divine Emperors dared to go there alone. Now, even Dao Essence Divine Emperor don't dare to go there alone. Almost all the immortals of the harbor came out to watch. Even one Dao Essence Divine Emperor came. When Emo released top-grade god artifact space-time boat, some Divine Emperors sighed. These 4 ordinary immortals were so wealthy. No wonder they dared to venture. "Wait!" One Dao Actualization Divine Emperor stopped Emo. Emo signaled the 3 to go on first before saluted with his fists. "We're going into the Void. What do you want?" The Dao Actualization Divine Emperor didn't salute with his fists and just pointed at the Void entrance. "This Void entrance isn't private. If you want to go through here, you need to pay god crystals, but I need to remind you, Even if you go into the void, you wouldn't be able to survive. If you trust me, Feng, I'm willing to find 4 tickets for you. The ship would come in a year or so. Feng seemed to be thinking for Yemo and them, but Yemo could tell from his eyes that he wanted his space-time boat. I'm not going to give you God crystals. What are you going to do to me? Yemo looked at Feng in contempt. He could tell Feng wasn't from the harbor at all. He just wanted to trick them to staying. Hearing this, Feng's face changed. He didn't expect Yemo to see through his act. If Yemo stayed, he would definitely have a way to get Yemo's top-grade god artifact, but now, an immortal emperor ignored him. He was angry, but there was nothing he could do. This was the harbor, he couldn't attack. The manager saw this and sneered. He knew how terrifying Yemo was now. If Feng really kept Yemo, it would be suicide. Yemo controlled the space-time boat and left from the harbor. In a short while, it disappeared. For mere insects dares to go to the void marketplace alone. This is asking to die. Feng didn't get to trick Yemo, but he didn't dare to rob it publicly. Not right. Yemo looked at the location disk and frowned. What's not right? Mu Xiaoyun asked. Yemo pointed at the disk. There's no direction on the disk. How do we get to the void marketplace? The void outside the void marketplace was endless. If you had no direction, there was no point flying. What do we do? Qing Ru clearly knew the danger of the void. The immortal realm void was okay. After all, the 33 heaven domains split apart. Even if you had no direction, you would eventually get to one heaven domain, but the divine Dao realm void was different. If you went in, perhaps you wouldn't be able to find a real land in tens of thousands of years. This is impossible? Yemo stared at this location disk as he watched. If it couldn't point out the direction of the void marketplace, what use did it have? I understand. Yemo pointed at the disk, and a faint white line that was almost invisible suddenly appeared. It's far from the void marketplace here, and the disk can't point out the exact location of the void marketplace, but it can point out the approximate location. We'll go along this white line. Once we get to the border of the void marketplace, the disk should show the location of the void marketplace. Yemo's space-time boat went along that white line for a month. Indeed, that white line cleared up a bit more. It was still not that clear, but Yemo noticed the subtle change. The road to the void marketplace was distant and long. Dong'an followed the great sun god mountain to the void marketplace and used nearly 50 years. According to Dong'an, the great sun god mountain's flying magic artifact was also top-grade god artifact. Yemo didn't think his flying magic artifact was that much faster than the great sun god mountains. Fu Fei, under Yemo's teachings, was now Immortal Emperor Tertiary Stage. Mu Xiaoyun was Immortal Monarch Primary Stage, and Qing Ru was a bit far behind. In the end, Yemo took out the time formation disk to let Qing Ru and Mu Xiaoyun use in turns. Qing Ru's talent was no weaker than Mu Xiaoyun's. In a short half-year using the time formation disk, she reached Immortal King in the Golden Page world. Because Yemo didn't cultivate, he controlled the space-time boat to be faster and faster. Yemo was careful at the start, but later on, the space-time boat avoided all the hazards easily. Yemo stood at the front of the boat and felt that vast space that was greater than the immortal realm's broken void, and had this indescribable feeling. His Golden Page world became smaller and smaller as his power grew stronger. It was now a speck of dust, but later on it might completely disappear. However, the space inside would only get bigger and bigger. Eventually, it might even be endless like this vast void. You didn't know if this vast void was big or small. Yemo had this sudden enlightenment. In his eyes, the universe might be endless, but one day, once his cultivation reached a certain level, this boundless space void might be a speck of dust to him, just like the Golden Page world. If the universe this vast was only a speck of dust to him, then what sort of world would be outside the speck of dust? At this moment, Yemo actually sat down. His mind and spirit had fused as one with this vast universe, as though he wanted to fuse this boundless universe into his Tao. This was the 9th year the space-time boat was flying in the void. During these 9 years, Yemo had been learning the universal void while controlling the space-time boat. Now that he was in sudden enlightenment, the space-time boat soon left its original path. Qing Ru was now Immortal Monarch and gave the time formation disk to Mu Xiaoyun to break through to Immortal Emperor. She was planning to see the void of the divine Tao realm on the deck. At this moment, Yemo happened to go into sudden enlightenment and the space-time boat lost control. Qingru was shocked and quickly left the Golden Page world and took over control of the space-time boat. She rejoiced that Brother Yi let open the authority to leave the Golden Page world. Otherwise, if the space-time boat rammed into an asteroid flow, it would be over. The clearing up line on the disk seemed to be blurring. Qingru controlled the boat and wanted to pull it back to the original direction. The divine Tao realm void was too vast. Even deviating a bit would make it hard to come back to the original position. Luckily, there was guidance on the location disk. However, Qingru's speed was tens of times slower than Yemo. 3 months passed. Today, a large gray shadow suddenly appeared in her spirit sense. This definitely wasn't asteroid nor a broken planet. Her spirit sense saw this and immediately knew it was a fragment of a small heaven domain. Qingru knew that there might be large amounts of immortal spirit items or treasures. She immediately stopped the space-time boat. Qingru wanted to call out Small Ginseng. Small Ginseng was naturally sensitive to small heaven domain as it came out of one. At this moment, Yemo's force suddenly kept rising. This vast boundless qi spread from Yemo's body. Endless Tao waves circulated around him. In Qingru's eyes, Yemo seemed to be the entire void of the universe. Qingru subconsciously retreated a few steps and murmured, "This is Tao Qi? How come I feel that Brother Yi is everything in this universe?" Qingru had seen her master reach Tao molding Divine Emperor. Li Xiu also had Tao waves circulating around her, but compared to Yemo's vast boundless Tao, her master was only a small drop. Yemo suddenly got up and the endless Tao waves circulated him even more. His howl couldn't be stopped by the void. His Tao waves along with his howl gathered the entire void, making his qi keep rising. When the qi rose to a peak, Yemo's howl suddenly stopped. He opened his eyes and smiled at Qingru. This was Tao nourishment. This powerful feeling made Yemo almost unable to believe it. He finally realized why some people would be forever stuck at Tao molding with special fortune. Meanwhile, some people would be able to reach Tao nourishment in a few decades or centuries. He was like that. He had been in the Golden Page world for all these years and didn't reach Tao nourishment, but a few years in the realm void made him successfully reach Tao nourishment. Qingru looked dazedly at Yemo and felt he had changed, but at the same time not changed at all. She soon reacted and walked up to Yemo. "Congratulations, Brother Yi, on breaking through." Yemo was very happy. This time, he not just reached Tao nourishment. He learned even more, but these things were inexpressible. He even learned a great god art. It was related to the vast void, but he couldn't form it yet. "Thank you. Did you stop here because you saw a small heaven domain?" Yemo smiled and asked. Qingru quickly said, "Yeah, Brother Yi. Look, that's a small heaven domain but instant second wrapped in gray. I was planning to call Shadowless and Small Ginseng out to sea, but Brother Yi, you woke up. Lucky indeed. That's a small heaven domain." Yemo could tell that the small heaven domain was wrapped in cloud. Not every small heaven domain's cloud was poisonous. Yemo checked with his spirit sense. This was not poisonous. "Do we go in now? Should we call out Small Ginseng?" Qingru asked desperately. Yemo nodded, "Of course. Call them out after we go in. I haven't congratulated you on reaching Immortal Monarch. Your talent is the top, just like Xiaoyun. Compared to Brother Yi, this accomplishment is nothing." Qingru was shocked about Yemo's time formation disk. That thing was too absurd. At the same time, she realized why Yemo's cultivation speed was that fast. Yemo nodded and suddenly asked, "Qingru, I have a question I want to ask you. Your master has seen a lot of things, or maybe you know why too." Qingru looked at Yemo in confusion. Brother Yi was much stronger than her and her master. What did he want to ask? Brother Yi asked. "Qingru will tell you anything I know," Qingru said. Yemo nodded. "I'm still a body refinement cultivator, and my body refinement has reached Immortal God Body Peak stage." "What? Brother Yi, you're already Immortal God Body Peak stage?" Qingru asked in shock. It was nothing shocking that Yemo was a body refinement cultivator, but it was too amazing that Yemo could reach Immortal God Body Peak stage. That was just one step away from reaching divine body. Emo didn't know if there was divine body in the divine Tao realm, but in the immortal realm, even in the legends, there has only been one who reached divine body in the countless years. That was still uncertain. Yes, I'm indeed immortal god body peak stage, but no matter how I cultivate, I'm still one step away from divine body. I thought before that my cultivation level was too weak and couldn't handle the power of the divine body, but now that I reached Tao nourishment, I still can't grasp divine body. After Emo reached Tao nourishment, he realized that not being able to reach divine body had nothing to do with WDTH cultivation level. The reason he couldn't reach divine body might be because when he went through nirvana, he didn't use the entire chaos blue reed. He gave a part to Jin Bingyu. But Emo wasn't very certain. He wanted to ask Qing Ru. If this was really the chaos, he would buy another chaos blue reed in the void marketplace. Chaos blue reed was rare, but all the races in the void marketplace probably had this thing. Qing Ru heard this and released that Emo was Tao Nourishment Divine Emperor. She immediately said, "Brother Yi, reaching divine body is no small deal. One's talent had to be absurd and their cultivation method must be powerful. You must not have any flaws during nirvana. If one of these things didn't hit the mark, then you can't reach divine body." In all the years of the immortal realm, it said only one powerful being reached divine body. Emo heard this and realized the problem. He sighed, "I think I know my problem. My cultivation method is fine. It's probably when I had nirvana, I didn't use the entire one." Emo believed that his 3-birth chant body refinement cultivation method was very powerful. "Huh!" Qing Ru realized and said, "Brother Yi, you shouldn't share the Chaos Blue Reed with people. Chaos Blue Reed is the best nirvana item. If you split it, you will never have the chance to reach the divine body." Sigh. Emo smiled. "Chaos Blue Reed is rare, but I don't believe you can't get this in the void marketplace. I will definitely get an entire Chaos Blue Reed in the void marketplace and make up for the problem." Qing Ru shook her head. "No, the reason nirvana is important is because it can't be made up for. Even if you find 100 Chaos Blue Reeds, it's pointless." Emo dazed. He just split that bit to Jin Bingyu and now he can't reach divine body? Emo suddenly thought of Jin Bingyu's words. If you want to reach higher levels, it's best you use the entire one. It seems she knew this already, but she didn't tell him. Emo didn't blame Jin Bingyu. They were just using each other at the time. If he was with Jin Bingyu now and the same situation came, would she ask for that small branch? Emo soon got the answer, she definitely wouldn't. Seeing Emo fall silent, Qing Ru suddenly said, "Brother Yi, if your Chaos Blue Reed was used by another man, then there's no way. But if it's another woman, then there's a sliver of chance." Qing Ru suddenly stopped. That sliver of chance was duo cultivation, but what if Emo didn't know that woman, or that woman was Yemo's sister, or that woman had lost her virginity? If it was any of those situations, Emo would have no chance. What chance? Emo quickly asked. Even if he reached primordial essence divine emperor, he had to reach divine body if he wanted to stand at even higher grounds. Hearing this, Qing Ru knew that it was a woman who used part of the Chaos Blue Reed. She hesitated and said, "If that woman is willing to duo cultivate with you, or..." So that's it. Emo realized and thought about when Jin Bingyu offered her body to him at the Blue Mo Immortal City. She said giving her virginity and something else to him. Emo finally realized what that other thing was. Seeing Qing Ru looked at him in confusion, Emo smiled. "Qing Ru, thank you. I understand now. We'll go to the small heaven domain and see if there's really a lot of good things there." The space-time boat passed through the mist, and this extremely powerful repulsive force slowed down the space-time boat immediately. The cloud layer seemed endless. After going forward for 15 minutes, they were getting slower and slower until they couldn't go forward anymore. Qing Ru, go in the golden page world. Emo knew that there was no way they could enter the small heaven domain with this space-time boat. Qing Ru knew the situation at hand and quickly went into the golden page world. Then Emo put away the space-time boat and released Zissou. Emo stood on Zissou and his speed increased drastically. The repulsive force of the gray layer was extremely powerful, but it clearly couldn't push out a Tao Nourishment Divine Emperor. Another 15 minutes later, the repulsion was gone and instead turned to a huge suction force. However, it couldn't affect Yimo at all. 5 minutes later, Yimo appeared in a more spacious place. This wasn't the void anymore. It was space that ordinary people could survive in. Yimo landed on the grass. A few wild rabbits saw Yimo but didn't avoid him and instead stared at him. No wonder they weren't scared. After Yimo reached Tao Nourishment Divine Emperor, all his chi was collected. Yimo's spirit sense scanned out and soon covered the entire small heaven domain. This place wasn't big, at most half the size of Earth. What disappointed Yimo was that there wasn't high-level immortal spirit herbs. Even the spirit herbs here weren't high-level. There was no god spirit herb nor Tao fruits. There weren't even spirit beast. Just some ordinary wild beasts. Qing Ru, Shadowless, and small ginseng came out. "Boss, this seems to be a very ordinary small heaven domain," Shadowless said. Small ginseng shook his head. "Not necessarily. Many small heaven domains look ordinary, but the truly precious things are hidden." Yimo trusted small ginseng more. Small ginseng was naturally sensitive to spirit things. Seeing Boss look at him, small ginseng said satisfyingly, "This is a small heaven domain outside the divine Tao realm. The chi here isn't dense, but it's similar to the god spirit chi of the divine Tao realm." Hearing this, Yimo suddenly woke up. He was accustomed to the chi of god spirit chi and didn't realize that although these things here were just ordinary spirit items, it didn't have the same ordinary chi as Earth. Small ginseng continued, "Usually, there are two explanations. One is that this isn't a good place, but I don't think that's likely. Second is that there's an extremely precious thing that sucked away 99% of the god spirit chi here. Small ginseng might be right. Let's split apart now and find the spirit item," Yimo said. In this small heaven domain, even Qing Ru's spirit sense can see everything, much less Yimo's. When they split apart, there was no danger. In the fourth level of Chaos Star Realm, Yimo carefully let her spirit sense out and she instantly felt her spirit sense being crushed clean. She quickly took back her spirit sense and said, "Sister Bingyu, if it wasn't for you, I would probably be dead. I can't even come to the first level of the Chaos Star Realm." Zhen Bingyu nodded before. "I came here only because I was with Yimo, otherwise, I wouldn't be able to come here. There are shadowless vultures and space whirlpools everywhere. My spirit sense cultivation method was taught by Yimo too. If you want to learn, I can teach you too." "Sure, of course I want to learn. Sister Bingyu, I see people rarely fly in here, but we can flying on our magic artifact. Is this due to your spirit sense cultivation method?" Yimo asked. "Yes, the spirit sense cultivation method I got is..." Before Zhen Bingyu finished, a powerful force pressed over. She was pressed on the ground with her flying magic artifact. Zhen Bingyu's face changed as she called out in shock, "Immortal Emperor." "Humph. Little girl, you have good talent and keen eyes. You can tell I'm an immortal emperor. Where is the young man that came with you?" He actually knew that he came into my spirit sense world and ran away. A man landed before Zhen Bingyu and Yimo. His face was expressionless and there was a sliver of coldness in his eyes. Zhen Bingyu looked at this man in shock and said, "You're Wushuang Immortal Emperor Master." I've been gone for many years, but a Wanbei knows my name. You're quite pretty looking. Even I rarely see women as pretty as you. You can be my wife," the Immortal Emperor said. He really was Mu Wushuang. Zhen Bingyu's face went bad. Hearing this, Zhen Bingyu's shock disappeared as she put Yimo behind her. "Wushuang Immortal Emperor. Wanbei, respect your power, but I can someone I like. If you want to do it by force, Wanbei will die." Hearing this, Mu Wushuang looked at Zhen Bingyu with more shock. "I didn't expect your character to be so fierce. But if I don't want you to die, you wouldn't even be able to die. Since you know I'm Mu Wushuang, you still reject me? After I go out, I'll crush the person you like and see what you have to say." Zhen Bingyu sneered but said nothing. This Mu Wushuang was dreaming. Yimo could probably killed Mu Wushuang with a finger now. Was Immortal Emperor very powerful? When it was MOU Immortal Sect opening ceremony, how many Immortal Emperors came to congratulate them? "What, you don't believe me?" Mu Wushuang's face sunk. Zhen Bingyu said, "If you can really crush him, then come to me and speak." "Haha." Mu Wushuang laughed. "Your cultivation progress is not bad. The guy whom you fled with is the person you like that? Even if his cultivation speed is the same as yours, he's only an immortal king. I really can crush him with a finger. Seeing Zhen Bingyu sneer, Mu Wushuang was annoyed and his tone went cold. The emperor shall kill him first and take you away. I never make bluffs. Tell me what his name is. Yimo could tell that Mu Wushuang wanted to kill her dad, so she said, Sister Bingyu is talking about my dad Yimo. You want to kill my dad just with your little power? Keep dreaming. You're his daughter? Mu Wushuang looked at Yimo in confusion and then at Zhen Bingyu. That's right. I'm Yimo's daughter. Yimo said with pride. Very well, I won't touch you two today. When I bring Yimo's head over, I'll talk. Then Mu Wushuang flashed and disappeared before them. Before they could say anything, Mu Wushuang appeared before them again. Tell me, do you know of Wei Feng Immortal Emperor's news lately? Zhen Bingyu answered. It said Wei Feng Grand Emperor went to God Necropolis Domain. God Necropolis Domain? What is that? Mu Wushuang frowned and asked. He had never heard of this God Necropolis Domain. It's said to be a realm higher than Immortal Realm. Many immortal emperors went over to vindicate Dao. Zhen Bingyu said. Mu Wushuang's face changed and asked, Divine Dao Realm? The place Zhu Yiqianbei came from. Zhen Bingyu really wanted to ask what the Divine Dao Realm and Zhu Yiqianbei was before she resisted. You don't know the Divine Dao Realm? Mu Wushuang could tell from Zhen Bingyu's face that she didn't know about the Divine Dao Realm. Yes, I've never heard of the Divine Dao Realm. It's just said that the tunnel from the Immortal Realm to the God Necropolis Domain is open. Those with Immortal Emperor can go over to vindicate Dao. Zhen Bingyu said. Mu Wushuang's face changed. He returned to Immortal Emperor Peak Stage and wanted to kill Wei Feng and them to get revenge. It would be all too easy, but Wei Feng was no longer the Immortal Realm. Since one can vindicate Dao at the God Necropolis Domain, it was quite possibly the Divine Dao Realm. When Zhu Yiqianbei gave him the corner soul weed, he said he came from the Divine Dao Realm. If Wei Feng Immortal Emperor came back from the God Necropolis Domain as a Divine Emperor, then he would be slapped to death in one palm. No, he had to go to the God Necropolis Domain. After a long while, Mu Wushuang asked, How do I go to the God Necropolis Domain? Zhen Bingyu didn't hesitate and threw a jade slip to Mu Wushuang again. Mu Wushuang looked at the jade slip and there was a sliver of joy. Thank you. I will come back and take you under my wing. I promise I won't kill your lover. Here's a jade slip in return. Mu Wushuang threw it and then disappeared. So cocky. Yimo stared at Mu Wushuang's direction and sneered. This person was gained up on due to being too cocky. When he sees Brother Yi in the future, he will be bashed up. Yimo, ignore him. Let's go. Zhen Bingyu didn't even look at the jade slip and threw it into her storage ring while releasing her flying magic artifact. They wanted to go even deeper at the 4th level. Even ordinary great immortals didn't dare to go deep into the Chaos Star Realm level 4, but Zhen Bingyu was an immortal king. Sister Bingyu, why don't you look at what that guy marked in the jade slip? It might be something good. Yimo thought about the jade slip. She detested Mu Wushuang, but the thing an immortal emperor gave out shouldn't be too bad, right? Yimo's eyes were rolling. Zhen Bingyu suddenly patted Yimo's head and said, Yimo, how come I feel you're exactly the same as Yimo? Zhen Bingyu knew Yimo's character. He was someone who couldn't move seeing something that was good. Nevertheless, Zhen Bingyu still took out the jade slip. Her spirit sense just casually scanned and her face showed shock. What's wrong? Yimo came up and scanned her spirit sense in. Immortal Marrow Pond? Yimo called out in shock. Then, she asked in disbelief, would that old guy be nice? He definitely took it already. Zhen Bingyu was very excited and shook her head. Not necessarily. Mu Wushuang is already Immortal Emperor Peak Stage. If he wants to increase his power, it's not as simple as stacking up resources. The Immortal Marrow Pond is useful to him, but not as important as we think. Regardless, Sister Bingyu, why don't we go there and see first? Yimo's eyes were gleaming with light. At this moment, Yimo was frowning to an ordinary grass. He had been searching for 3 days in this small heaven domain. He felt there was this calling. Emo carefully checked the grass patch before him and couldn't see anything. It seemed he could only call small ginseng over. Small ginseng had a natural instinct to natural formation. Just when Emo was going to call small ginseng over, his face changed. He disappeared from this patch of grass and appeared before Qingru. There was a white-haired man before Qingru. He was Tao Actualization Divine Emperor Primary Stage. Emo was shocked. When he came here, his spirit sense didn't notice this person. An immortal emperor, an immortal monarch, and a decent god beast and a ice ginseng can find this place. You're bold indeed. The white-haired man looked at Emo and said, Brother Yi. Qingru called with a pale face and stood behind Emo. How did this guy find you? Emo stared at the Tao Actualization Divine Emperor and asked. He was certain this Tao Actualization Divine Emperor wasn't human. There was a white mist around him. I saw a een plum here and wanted to dig it. However, I dug open a natural stealth formation. Qingru said. Emo nodded. Natural stealth formation usually appeared next to plum or peach trees. Hee. Luckily you dug me out. Otherwise, I closed off my senses to find things. Even if you suddenly left, I wouldn't know. It would be a pity that such a perfect cultivation woman would be gone. You're a mere immortal emperor. I can kill you easily. The white-haired man said. Emo sneered. You're only a Tao Actualization Divine Emperor Primary Stage, and you dare to be this cocky. You can see my cultivation level? The white-haired man's face changed. He could tell from Yemo's words that Emo wasn't an immortal emperor. He couldn't see through Yemo's stealth cultivation level. As they spoke, Shadowless and Small Ginseng came over too. As they spoke, Shadowless and Small Ginseng came over. Emo signaled Shadowless, Small Ginseng and Qingru to retreat. At the same time, he released Zisu. This white-haired man saw Emo release a magic artifact that was barely a low-grade god artifact and sneered. He released 2 blood-colored rings. Zisu fell bring this twisted purple sword rune that covered the entire small heaven domain. Seeing this, the Tao Actualization Divine Emperor's eyes narrowed. His heart skipped fast as he smashed out his 2 rings. After the 2 rings came out, the sky of the small heaven domain became blood. This blood-red killing intent that was about to erode to the depth of the soul rose up. Shadowless and them hid very far. Even so, they were invaded by the blood color and shivered. Emo sneered. Falling mark sword rune shook and hacked into this blood color. Clank! Emo's sword seemed to have smashed a glass bottle filled with blood and the blood color splashed apart. The soul-eroding killing intent was also split apart and the heaven of the small heaven domain returned to its original color. The Tao Actualization Divine Emperor didn't expect Emo to have his divine demon blood ring in one strike and broke the blood domain too. Emo just used a low-grade god artifact. That twisted sword rune was too scary. Before the falling mark sword rune spread, Emo smashed out 5 lightning spear destruction. At the same time, a minor space ripple spread. The 5 lightning spear destruction smashed down, bringing up blood mist. That Tao Actualization Divine Emperor disappeared after being smashed by the 5 lightning spear destruction. Emo's face looked bad. He didn't expect the 5 lightning spear destruction to only heavily injure the Tao Actualization Divine Emperor. If this Tao Actualization Divine Emperor just used mobility technique to run, Emo was certain that he couldn't get far. However, that guy released a terrifying rune. This rune broke open his 5 lightning spear destruction and even his domain. This guy was evenly matched with him and only had a little lower hand, but he was willing to use such a precious rune to run without hesitation. He was too careful. This rune was probably as valuable as an extreme-grade god artifact. Emo regretted. He should have used the golden bow of divine extermination immediately. Brother Yi, did he run away? Qingru asked. This person is so timid. He turned to Ran before the fight even began. Shadowless said in contempt. Emo nodded. He got away. I didn't expect there would be someone as careful as him. He used the best rune to flee before the battle even began. Small Ginseng said, Boss, this person definitely thinks the same as us. This place is filled with golden core state but has no high-level immortal spirit herbs. He guessed that there's a top-level good thing here and thus hid in the stealthed formation and shut off his senses to use his spirit sense to search. By the looks of it, he had been here for many years. How come he still found nothing? Even if there are good things, we might not be able to find it. Shadowless said. Small Ginseng said in contempt. What do you know? Real heavenly treasures need to be mastered. If the treasure thought the person didn't have the right or power to be instant second master, it would definitely not come out. Emo immediately thought about how he felt a strong calling and immediately said to Small Ginseng, I saw a potential natural stealth formation, but with my formation skills I can't find the entrance. Help me look at it. The group soon came to that patch of grass. Small Ginseng looked carefully and frowned. There's nothing here. Before he finished, a figure gradually went from hollow to being real. Even Emo looked at this figure in disbelief. There was a nearly 30 m tall huge tree here. It was very lush green and there were yellow fruits on it. There was about 100 or so. This heart-soothing aroma spread and everyone's mind felt cleared. Qingru even felt her cultivation level increase for no reason. Emo just wanted to say this tree was so familiar when Small Ginseng said in shock, Yellow middle plum. Yellow middle plum of the 10 great spirit items. Qingru called out in shock. Yellow middle plum was one of the 10 great spirit items and was a very delicious chaos Dao fruit. Eating it can help you learn world laws and your own Dao. Therefore, yellow middle plum has another name called the Dao law fruit. It was very hard for the yellow middle plum tree to bear fruit. Each fruit had different world laws, but each fruit was unique to the world. Emo could tell this yellow middle plum was the same as the branch he had in the Golden Page world. The branch didn't have pure roots. The middle-aged man he saw at the ethereal Immortal pond had a branch. The branch probably came from this tree. Emo looked at the tree and indeed, there was a mark of a broken branch. It really is the yellow middle plum. Emo suppressed his joy and touched the tree. 108 fruits were a priceless treasure each. Boss, I know. The original owner of the yellow middle plum died and so it hid here itself. Now it wants to find a master, so... Small Ginseng said in joy. Emo had Chaos World and World Tree. It was normal that the yellow middle plum wanted to recognize Emo as master. Emo agreed to Small Ginseng. The Chaos Spirit items of the world each had their own consciousness. The reason he got the 3 golden pages were because they hid themselves on Earth. Who was to be certain that it wasn't because they wanted to serve him as master? Thinking about this, Emo communicated to the yellow middle plum with his will and wanted to send it into his golden page world. As soon as he made the thought, the yellow middle plum landed in his golden page world with a sliver of joy. It was on opposite sides to the bitter bamboo. So this was it indeed. Emo scanned his golden page world and smiled. He suspected that the reason Qingru came here was due to the yellow middle plum. Seeing Emo take the yellow middle plum so easily, Qingru knew that Small Ginseng was right. The yellow middle plum wanted to recognize Emo as master or it wouldn't be taken away so easily. I've heard it's very hard to bear fruits on the yellow middle plum. Why is there so many fruits on this one? Qingru asked in confusion. Emo knew, but before he answered, Small Ginseng said, It's very hard indeed. It's said that it only bears a fruit every 10,000 years, but if the number of fruits reached the number of heaven and earth, it would stop increasing. The tree has 108 fruits now, so it means that the tree has been here for at least 1.08 million years. Shadowless said, Perhaps the yellow middle plum had 100 fruits here when it hid here. How would you know? Impossible. Small Ginseng said. How do you know? The previous owner of the yellow middle plum definitely died. That's why the yellow middle plum appeared here. There was no way he would waste the fruits of the yellow middle plum before he died. Emo felt both of them were right, so he waved his hand. Now's not the time to discuss this. Let's leave here quickly. After leaving the small heaven domain, Emo released Space-Time Boat and let them go in the Golden Page world to watch the yellow middle plum. He tried to get back on the original tracks as quickly as possible. This time, they seemed to have went off very far. It took 4 years for Emo to see the line clear up. Most of the times, Qingru chatted with Emo on the deck or watched the void. she would occasionally go cultivate. The vast void contained too many unknown. Even at Yi Mo's level, there was still too much he didn't know. Shadowless and Small Ginseng wanted to control the ship, but Yi Mo sent them away without hesitation. In this void realm, it was the safest only if he controlled the ship. After another decade, the line pointing to the void marketplace became clearer and clearer. They wouldn't need 50 years to reach the void marketplace. The space-time boat had reached an extreme speed under Yi Mo's control. It was like a teleporting blur. But despite this, under the search of a powerful spirit sense, the space-time boat would be caught. A spirit sense scanned past Yi Mo's space-time boat and even on Yi Mo and Qing Ru's body. This spirit sense was extremely powerful and dominant. Yi Mo's spirit sense scanned and saw 11 people. They surrounded a purple flying god artifact and kept attacking it. There were 5 Tao Actualization Divine Emperors and 6 Tao Nourishment Divine Emperors. Seeing this purple flying god artifact, Yi Mo was shocked. It was very strenuous and hard for him to get a top-grade flying god artifact, but now, he easily saw a half-extreme grade god artifact. The purple flying god artifact had 2 Tao Actualization Divine Emperors protecting it, but clearly the defense formation wasn't going to last long. In a short time, Yi Mo's top-grade flying god artifact was near here. That's an extreme grade flying god artifact, Qing Ru exclaimed. No, it's a half-extreme grade flying god artifact. Yi Mo shook his head and said, Haha, I Qiao Zhen had been ravaging the void for millenniums, and this is the first time I see someone not thinking about running away and instead discussing flying magic artifact levels. Good. A man who was nearly 3 meters tall laughed. He left the group of 11 and stopped Yi Mo's space-time boat. Don't just talk about other people's flying magic artifact. I think your flying magic artifact is not bad. It's a high-quality top-grade flying god artifact. Qiao Zhen studied Yi Mo's space-time boat. Void pirate. Qing Ru called out in shock. You just realized? No wonder you dare to follow an immortal emperor into the void. Qiao Zhen studied Qing Ru and said, Such a pretty immortal. I've never seen such a perfect woman in all my life. Wuxia, I'm going to take that woman. A skinny man dashed over and cleared wanted Qing Ru. Qiao Zhen, who was called Wuxia, said, I'm not interested in woman. I only want this flying magic artifact. He then stared at Yi Mo and laughed. Do you know why he called me Wuxia? Because when I fight with people I like to burn them crisp. So I'm called Wuxia. Yi Mo released Zisu Shatterspace before he finished. Even in the void, it illuminated out a 100 kilometers purple ray that instantly annihilated. Qiao Zhen's voice. Yi Mo reached Tao Nourishment Divine Emperor in the void and learned a lot of void laws. Shatterspace was still the same god art, but its seeping out lethal force was grinded out, and what replaced it was this vibrant purple ray. When the purple ray fell, the nearby void became purple. Qiao Zhen was a Tao Actualization Divine Emperor primary stage, but he instant sunk into this purple ray. But soon he reacted. This wasn't a purple ray. It was a death beam. One that he didn't sense any killing intent from. Shivers went across his body. As a Tao Actualization Divine Emperor, how could he not know that the greater the god art, the more terrifying the lethal force? If lethal force was stealthed, then it was a god art that perfectly fused with world laws. He sweat cold and immediately released a flame like gray magic artifact. A terrifying scorching gray exploded like a bomb. In one instant, the surrounding void was covered by a terrifying gray flame. Some went against Shatterspace Sword Mark, but more attacked Yi Mo. Even amidst this flame, Zisu had this shocking purple ray. Void gray flame. Yi Mo immediately recognized this heaven flame. It was a heaven flame ranked 14th. Yi Mo was certain this void gray flame had a fire spirit, or it wouldn't be this mobile. It was at least a god flame level. Yi Mo had never seen someone use a flame as his main attack magic artifact. Qiao Zhen did this clearly because he had faith in his flame and had a flame god art. Little Blue was jumping around in Yi Mo's Dan Tian, eager to come out and attack the void gray flame. Even if Little Blue didn't react, Yi Mo planned to use fire to teach this guy a lesson. Before void gray flame reached Yi Mo's space-time boat, Yi Mo punched. Yi Mo fused his flame into his fist god art. A blue fire wall smashed out silently. There was no sound when the blue fire wall hit the void gray flame. 2 seconds later, there was a sharp shriek. The void gray flame seemed to have encountered a terrifying predator and immediately retreated. At this moment, the second and third blue fire wall came like waves. Blue like morning sky. Xiao Zhen clearly knew flames well. It was too terrifying that Emo fused flame into his fist god art and smashed out such flame waves. If he couldn't stop this flame, then even if he didn't die he would be heavily injured. The Divine Emperors attacking the purple flying magic artifact noticed things weren't right. 1 Dao Actualization Divine Emperor and 3 Dao Nourishment Divine Emperor flew over quickly. With this, only 5 people still attacked the purple flying magic artifact. The 2 Dao Actualization Divine Emperors on the purple flying magic artifact immediately had much less pressure. The 2 just glanced over at EMO and took back their spirit sense. At the same time, the flying magic artifact suddenly changed directions and left through gaps between the 5 Divine Emperors and disappeared. These people are too shameless. Qing Ru cursed in anger. EMO was helping them attack the Void Pirates, but they ran away instead. EMO sneered. He detested such people. If he didn't want to attack, Xiao Zhen definitely wouldn't be able to stop his space-time boat. He stayed to help. He didn't expect this to happen. Sometimes you really couldn't be too nice. Xiao Zhen used his essence chi like crazy. He just needed to defend this time. Things would be much easier when his team came. But no matter what, the blue like morning sky swept away the void gray flame like nothing. A sharp shriek came from the gray flames. Emo felt blue like morning sky's level increase a lot instantly. He immediately understood. The 2 flames were both god flames, but blue like morning sky's level was higher than the gray flame, so he devoured the void gray flame. The instant this happened, the 4th blue fire wall swept Xiao Zhen. Emo knew that Xiao Zhen was of no concern now. Emo tried to send a message to Little Blue, making it attack the Skinny Dao Actualization Divine Emperor with the 5th flame wall. Emo was rejoiced to hear Little Blue's reply in a baby voice, "No problem, boss." Little Blue could speak now. He copied Shadowless's tone too. Emo knew now wasn't the time to ask about this. When the 5th flame wall attacked the Skinny Dao Actualization Divine Emperor, Xiao Zhen used mobility technique. When Shatter Space Blade fell down and blood mist sprayed, Xiao Zhen was hacked in half. His mobility technique was stopped halfway. The blue flame swept and Xiao Zhen's essence spirit and body were destroyed. Only a storage ring remained that appeared in Yemo's hand. The Skinny Dao Actualization Divine Emperor barely stopped Yemo's 5th firewall and retreated to the other people. The 10 people looked dazedly at Xiao Zhen's place. "How dare you kill Wuxia?" The Skinny Dao Actualization Divine Emperor was the first to rage. Attack together. Pull his soul and sacrifice to Wuxia. The 10 Divine Emperors attacked Emo together. Emo knew his space-time boat's defense formation wouldn't be able to stop their attacks, so he came out of the boat. Qing Ru retreated instantly with the boat. The only thing she could do was not get in the way. The 10 Void Pirates ignored Qing Ru. To them, Emo was dead now. Their domains stacked together. In their view, with this many domains and magic artifacts stacked together, Emo would certainly be crushed. Emo had never been through such terrifying pressure. He felt his Divine Emperor domain getting completely torn apart. A terrifying force smashed on him, about to tear him to pieces. He spat a few mouthfuls of blood but didn't smash out Zisu. He shrunk his domain to 10 meters and smashed out 6 Shatter Space Spirit Sense God Arts. 6 Dao Nourishment Divine Emperors. If it was one-on-one battle, Emo could kill one instantly. But now, he could only use Spirit Sense God Art to ambush. Seeing Emo spit blood, the 4 Dao Actualization Divine Emperors rejoiced and attacked Emo again. The 6 Dao Nourishment Divine Emperors paused due to being ambushed by Emo's God Art. Emo quickly released Adamantium Great Vehicle Painting. With the sound of Sanskrit tones, tens of golden monks came out that joined up to stop the attacks of the 4 Dao Actualization Divine Emperor. Adamantium Great Vehicle Painting? 1 Dao Actualization Divine Emperor recognized this immediately and called out in surprise and joy. Emo knew that his Adamantium Great Vehicle Painting wouldn't last 3 seconds. After using the Spirit Sense God Art, he smashed down with 6 lightning spears. The 6 Tao Nourishment Divine Emperor's Sea of Consciousness was torn apart. If Yimo was still Tao Molding Divine Emperor, the Tao Nourishment Divine Emperors could possibly defend against this, but now that Yimo was Tao Nourishment Divine Emperor, these 6 Tao Nourishment Divine Emperor had no chance. 6 extremely thick lightning spears struck down. Even the golden monks seemed a bit eerie under the illumination of the black lightning. Splurge. The 6 Tao Nourishment Divine Emperors turned to bloody mist. Crack. The adamantium great vehicle painting made a cracking sound. Yimo knew that the painting wasn't broken, but it was useless now. There was a sense of weakness coming from his sea of consciousness. The 4 Tao Actualization Divine Emperors immobilized his adamantium great vehicle painting and broke his meridians. If it wasn't that his body was sturdy, he would be disembodied. Yimo resisted the urge to spit essence blood and instead went in. He waved out 2 great primordial god runes. Great primordial god rune. 1 chubby Tao Actualization Divine Emperor middle stage called out shakily. Don't be scared, he's almost done for. The skinny Tao Actualization Divine Emperor called out quickly and released a dragon tooth hell seal. Yimo forcefully used his spirit sense and smashed down Zisu at the same time the 2 great primordial god runes went out. Great primordial god rune plus falling mark sword rune. This region of void had become twisted. The 2 great primordial god runes clearly had no target, but the 4 Tao Actualization Divine Emperors felt they were charging at them. A Tao Actualization Divine Emperor primary stage finally couldn't resist his shock and dashed away, disappearing. He couldn't see through Yimo's cultivation level, but to be able to kill 1 Tao Actualization Divine Emperor and 6 Tao Nourishment Divine Emperor in one go wasn't simple. Coward, so what if he has great primordial god rune? He's at his wit's end. If us 3 join up, we can kill him. The skinny man sneered as the dragon tooth hell seal protected him. The other 2 released their defense magic artifact. They didn't run, but they didn't attack. They would protect themselves first. The name of great primordial god rune was too ferocious. It ignored space-time. No one would be careless. To be able to reach Tao Actualization Divine Emperor, who didn't spend countless years and endure countless hardships. If they were killed as simply as Chao Zhen, it would be such a waste. 2 great primordial god rune attacked that chubby Tao Actualization Divine Emperor middle stage. Yimo could tell he was scared of the great primordial god rune the most. The chubby Tao Actualization Divine Emperor middle stage saw 2 great primordial god runes came at him as well as the twisted sword rune. He couldn't care and immediately disappeared in a dashing light. He was certain that even if his partners could kill Yimo, he would be heavily injured or killed by the great primordial god rune. With 2 running, Yimo didn't hesitate. The great primordial god rune and falling mark sword rune, he purposely slowed attacked the other Tao Actualization Divine Emperor tertiary stage and avoided the skinny man. The Tao Actualization Divine Emperor tertiary stage didn't run but released a pitch-black ruler magic artifact. It wanted to block the 2 great primordial god rune while his defense magic artifact became the second line of defense. Rumble. The great primordial god rune hacked the black ruler and instantly twisted. The twisting ripple seemed to have fused into the void and disappeared. Yimo reached Tao Nourishment Divine Emperor in the void and fused the void into his Tao. The great primordial god rune swam like fish in the void. Seeing this Tao Actualization Divine Emperor tertiary stage's face immediately changed. He was scared of the great primordial god rune because he knew it could ignore space-time. Now, 2 great primordial god runes disappeared before him, but in his senses, they still existed. He immediately began vigilant. Seeing Yimo didn't attack him, the skinny man's seal turned into a 100 kilometers tall mountain that smashed at Yimo. Even so, he released a defense magic artifact shield to protect him. He was still worried about the great primordial god rune. When a subtle god rune seeped out from the back of the black ruler, this Tao Actualization Divine Emperor tertiary stage could no longer resist his terror. What shocked him even more was that there was this powerful life force coming from Yimo. This wasn't something heavily injured people could have. The Tao Actualization Divine Emperor tertiary stage could no longer care. His black turn turned into a black line that disappeared with him. If great primordial god rune could ignore space, It meant that the great primordial god rune was in great completion master. Even Tao Essence Divine Emperor didn't dare to underestimate this. It was dreaming for him to take out these two great primordial god runes. Plus, Yemo wasn't heavily injured. But when he fled, he felt things weren't right. The great primordial god rune was ferocious. Even if he ran, it should chase up and heavily injure him. Why wasn't he injured? He was confused, but he didn't have the courage to go back and fight Yemo. Seeing his last team go, there was horror in the eyes of this skinny Tao Actualization Divine Emperor. He also felt the dense life force coming from Yemo's body. He could care anymore. He grabbed the seal and turned to smoke. The two great primordial god runes crossed the Black Ruler, but its power was greatly diminished. If this Tao Actualization Divine Emperor didn't go, it would at most injure him slightly. Yemo breathed. If these two didn't run, he would have to take out his golden bow of divine extermination. Yemo didn't want to do that, as if he did, he would have to kill them. Exposing his golden bow of divine extermination here was no small matter. Yemo knew Shou's character, and she definitely wouldn't expose this, but other people were different. The golden bow of divine extermination was something even primordial essence divine emperor wanted. Yemo didn't even plan to take out the 36 lightning sea god orbs unless he was certain he could kill all 11 of them. Yemo knew that the two ran away also due to the chaos tree. The chaos tree couldn't repair his broken meridians, but it could allow him to have powerful life force and recover his wounds. 7 of the 11 divine emperors died and 4 ran away. Yemo was about to fall. Qingru was very worried and quickly came over on the space-time boat, dragging Yemo inside, and then changed directions as they flew off. Yemo was quite heavily injured this time. He left Shadowless and them to control the space-time boat while he went in the Golden Page world to recover. Even a Tao Nourishment Divine Emperor would need the best God Spirit herb or long time in solitary cultivation to recover from meridians being broken. But for Yemo, who had the Chaos Tree, he used just half a year to completely recover. He scanned with his spirit sense and found that they were on the right track to the Void Marketplace. He didn't go out and took off a Yumiaodon fruit. It was extremely tasty in his mouth when the fruit came in and turned into a well of Tao waves that flowed in Yemo's body. The fruit seemed to be able to sense Yemo's learnings and turned into void laws that helped Yemo fuse all his enlightenments together. At the same time, it helped Yemo grasp the God art laws that he couldn't reach. Yemo went into enlightenment again and completely ignored his surroundings. The void was boundless and endless. The universe had countless void realms. Once your cultivation level reached a certain level, you could tear a void realm to enter another one. The void of a realm was endless. If you controlled the entire void of this realm, you controlled the realm. Yemo thought and suddenly grabbed with his hand. The space before him turned into a region of void. This region of void was far from a realm and was far from forming one, but this region of void was in his control. Yemo let go and stood up with his hands behind his back. He didn't try again. The region of void he grabbed was different to domain. If his opponent was in his region of void, then the opponent's domain and cultivation method would be completely separated. In that region of void, he was the master. He could kill his opponents before he could react. If he controlled this region of void before, that Tao Actualization Divine Emperor Tertiary stage wouldn't be able to escape at all. Great Primordial God Rune could indeed ignore space-time, but Yemo couldn't do that yet. His Great Primordial God Rune needed to go around Defense Magic Artifact to attack his opponents. That way, Yemo couldn't release even 1% of the true power of the Great Primordial God Rune. If he controlled one region of void, he could emulate the quality of the Great Primordial God Rune ignoring space. Yemo wasn't too happy that he learned one region of void. Due to his limited cultivation level, he could only grab a limited amount of void space. Even if the space increased, it was another question if he could even envelope his opponent in this space. The main thing was that in his Golden Page world, opening up this region of void was extremely taxing on God essence and spirit sense. If it was the outside world, Yemo even suspected if he would be able to do it quickly. The Golden Page world was his world, but the outside world wasn't his world. If he used one region of void, could he even have the effort to use other god arts to kill his opponent? Yemo came up to the space-time boat immediately. "Brother Yi, "You're out of solitary cultivation?" Qing Ru asked. "Wait." Yimo left the boat and grabbed in the void. The vast void seemed to have paused under Yimo's grab, and this region of space that was different to other regions appeared before Yimo. This space completely belonged to Yimo. He could do anything he wanted in that dimension, even though it was just for a brief moment. In just 3 seconds, Yimo let go. His face was pale. He learned how to grab out his own realm in the void, but his cultivation level was far from keeping up with his learnings. "I'll call it one region. This mean can only be used as a final lethal blow." Yimo sighed. To Yimo, if he could just trap the enemy in a world he grabbed for just 1 second, it would be enough. Qing Ru, how long did I spend in recovery and solitary cultivation? Yimo came back to the space-time boat. Before Qing Ru could reply, Shadowless said, 4 years. During this time, I've been controlling the boat. My speed now is definitely fast, boss. Shadowless was scared of Yimo taking his control of the boat and said. Regardless, Yimo didn't let Shadowless keep controlling the boat. When he took over, they were many times faster. Small Ginseng said seriously, Shadowless, your speed of control is definitely fast. Shadowless saw that compared to Yimo's speed. His speed was a turtle, but he still replied, I was planning to accelerate, but boss finished solitary cultivation early. Yimo wasted a few years in the void due to the void pirates, but it didn't affect him much. He got 7 storage ring and Little Blue got stronger. He also learned Void God Art 1 region. Yimo collected nearly 200 million top-grade God crystals. In total, he had 300 million God crystals. On top of that, there was 2 middle-grade God Spirit ranges and countless materials and God Spirit herbs. Another decade later, Mu Xiaoyun had divine damnation and reached Immortal Emperor and stopped cultivation. She left the Golden Page world and came on the space-time boat. Fu Fei stopped too. The line on the location disk was getting clearer and clearer. Clearly, the void marketplace was getting closer and closer. Yimo spoke with them as he controlled the ship. A huge black figure that had a diameter of 1,000 kilometers appeared before Yimo. There were tens of huge ships stopped next to it. Is this the void marketplace? Yimo subconsciously slowed the space-time boat and asked in disbelief. But immediately he realized he was wrong. This wasn't the void marketplace. Dong'an said that the void marketplace was a continent. This was a moving ship castle in the void. This is probably a trading station on the way to the void marketplace. The ships on the side are probably from the different races. Qing Ru said. Yimo nodded, that's probably it. Shadowless, you guys go in first. When they went in, Yimo slowly approached this huge ship castle. There were city walls and a huge gate. When Yimo got close, he saw that the castle was actually a huge asteroid that was locked in space by formation. At the top were the words, Shadow Void Castle. Stop. Everyone who wants to go in has to pay 10k top-grade God crystals. An immortal monarch at the gate looked strangely at the group. He had seen many people who flew here alone, but he felt that this group's power really wasn't enough to travel the void. He couldn't see through their power levels, but Fu Fei and Mu Xiaoyun were at most Immortal Emperor. Yimo definitely wasn't Dao Essence Divine Emperor. Even if Yimo was Dao Actualization Divine Emperor, it was way too risky to be traveling in the void with them. Yimo took out 40k God crystals and asked, May I ask if this castle is a midway stop to the void marketplace? Yes, the people who come here can participate in auctions and buy complete void location maps as well as other things, for example the language jade slips of other races. You can also hire people from here to protect you to the void marketplace. Of course, that is very pricey. The immortal monarch said, just as he had thought. Yimo thanked and took the 3 into the castle. The castle area wasn't huge. Many immortal cities were much larger than this. Shops were closely linked together. Clearly, land was very expensive here. There were all sorts of people walking in the not-so-spacious streets. Some of them didn't have human faces. Yimo went to the nearby shop and bought the language jade slips of all the races before finding an immortal rest tower. Brother Yi. Just when Yimo came in, a voice called out in surprise and joy. Yimo recognized this person. It was Xianxia, the wine lover he saw at the harbor. So it's Brother Xianyu. Emo saluted with his fists and saw this place was seated full. "Brother Yi, why don't you come sit over with me? 2 of my friends just went out. It will be a while before they come," Xianxia said. Emo saw there were many spots on Xianxia's table. Even if for more people came, it would fit. "Brother Yi, only someone like you can cross the void alone." Many people at the ship harbor thought Brother Yi was naive, but only I knew Brother Yi would definitely be able to make it. There are individual ships heading to the void marketplace from here. Even if Brother Yi don't fly yourself, you can take the ship from here, Xianxia said. Emo smiled. "I don't have tickets. If I had tickets, who would want to travel the void alone? Did you just get here?" Emo said that, but he didn't regret going the void himself. He collected the yellow middle plum. He wasted 4 to 5 years on journey. Why was Xianxia still at the castle? Xianxia sighed. "It's a long story. Our ship has been here for nearly a year, and it's about to leave, but due to some things happening on the way, we wasted a few years' time." "Did you encounter void pirates too?" Fu Fei asked. "We didn't encounter void pirates. They rarely attack large ships. After all, the difference in power was too big. Of course, there were a few very strong pirates that would attack large ships. They have their own ships too. Our ship encountered asteroid flow and the ship was damaged. It's now stopped at the Shadow Void Castle for repair," Xianxia said. "There are rarely any solo-flying magic artifacts that don't encounter void pirates on the way to the void marketplace. It's very lucky that Brother Yi didn't encounter void pirates," Xianxia said. He thought that although Emo was strong, he wouldn't be able to face off against pirates and be safe. Emo looked at Xianxia and asked, "Brother Xianyu, how do you know that I didn't encounter void pirates? And why do you say that rarely do people not encounter void pirates if they go alone? The void is that vast while the pirates are just minority." Xianxia sighed. "Brother Yi, you don't know that the routes to the void marketplace are pretty much the same. Void pirates have their own scanning formation disk. These formation disks are very expensive. An expensive one would cost more than 1 billion god crystals. Even a cheap one would cost nearly 100 million. So that's it." Emo understood. It seemed that purple flying magic artifact was probably scanned while he ran into the void pirates on his own accord. "If Brother Yi encountered void pirates, you wouldn't have it so easy. The weakest would have 6 to 7 people and at least 3 Dao actualization divine emperors. Brother Yi didn't fear fighting one-on-one battles, but they have strength in numbers and they often fought in the void. Their power and experience is extraordinary," Xianxia said. Emo nodded and agreed. Those pirates were both experienced in fighting and running. Just when Emo wanted to ask Xianxia about the castle, a man and woman rushed over. One was a Dao molding divine emperor woman. She had a few dark marks on her face. Clearly she was slapped. The man was a Dao nourishment divine emperor. Even if a Dao molding divine emperor's face split open, it would instantly recover, but her mark remained on her face. "Immortal friend Gu. Immortal friend Xian. What happened?" Xianxia got up immediately. This Dao nourishment divine emperor came up to Xianxia and said in a quiet voice, "We saw a stall on the side. There were 6 heart-refining immortal herbs." Immortal friend being agreed with the stall owner to use a fist-sized lightning fire treasure sand to exchange for the herb, but she meant to trade all 6. "Lightning fire treasure sand?" Emo asked in shock. This was definitely something good. It was a level 12 immortal material. This main purpose was for forgery. If he could fuse a lightning fire treasure sand, it would be perfect. Could allow Zisu to reach middle-grade god artifact at least. A fist-sized one was enough to trade for even 16 herbs, not just 6. But Emo could understand what the female immortal thought. The heart-refining immortal herb was an important god-spirit herb that Dao molding divine emperor needed. It could be concocted into heart-refining pill that had immeasurable benefits for reaching Dao nourishment divine emperor. But that was if it was made into the pill. If not, it had no value. Turning the herb into the pill was no easier than reaching Dao nourishment divine emperor. Only Dao nourishment pill divines could concoct heart-refining pill. Even Emo couldn't promise he could do it now. The Dao nourishment divine emperor didn't notice Emo at first, but when Yemo spoke he recognized Yemo. He said in shock, "Your..." Xianxia smiled. "Immortal friend Xian is right. Brother Yi came to the castle alone on his magic artifact." Then he pointed at the two divine emperors and said to Yemo Gu being, "Xianxia and I came from the ship together." The two had released that Yemo was not an immortal emperor now. The two immediately bowed to Yemo. No matter how high their status was in the divine Tao realm, they were at the bottom of the food chain in the Shadow Void Castle. It was good to know a powerful being like Yemo returned to gesture and asked, "Two immortal friends. I heard you talk about lightning fire treasure sand. Did you trade it already?" Gu being answered that stall owner is extremely shameless. He threw me a heart-refining immortal herb and wanted to use one to trade my lightning fire sand. I said I wasn't going to exchange for one, but that person slapped me. He was Tao actualization divine emperor power and I couldn't dodge it. Immortal friend Xian quickly pulled me away. Luckily, I didn't give the lightning fire sand to him. At that moment, another Tao actualization divine emperor Qianbei came to his stall to ask, so we fled here. Yemo saw this Gu being was rather pretty and wore a pink immortal robe. Her face was very white, but there was a few black marks on it now. Xianxia quickly said, "We should go quickly. I'm certain that person will chase here." "Humph, you took my heart-refining herb, but you didn't give me your thing and you want to run? Do you think you can get away? I don't believe such evil people like you exist in the Shadow Void Castle." A cold voice spoke and a gray figure walked in. Gu being shivered and subconsciously said, "I didn't take your herb plus. I wasn't going to trade one." There were restriction everywhere. When this person came in, Yemo saw who it was. He was one of the void pirates who fled first. However, Gu being was confused. That Tao actualization divine emperor had a sliver of fear flash across his eyes and was about to leave. Yemo sneered, "Stop." This Tao actualization divine emperor clearly recognized Yemo. His first reaction was to use mobility technique and get as far away as possible. Yemo appeared here, meaning that his partners were definitely gone. But then he thought that this was the Shadow Void Castle. Here, no matter how bold Yemo was, he wouldn't dare to do anything. If he fled out of the castle, he would be in danger. He walked up to Yemo nervously and saluted with his fists. "Qianbei." I didn't offend Qianbei. Not only did I not attack Qianbei with full power, but I was also the first to leave. Plus, I'm not a part of the flying void. Yemo knew he couldn't kill this guy here, and Yemo wasn't desperate to kill this guy. He wanted to kill that skinny Tao actualization divine emperor the most. What is that skinny Tao actualization divine emperor primary stage called? Where is his home? Yemo asked coldly. He's called Hao Junfeng. No one knows where he lives. We just gather at the void marketplace periodically. The long-haired Tao actualization divine emperor answered Yemo's question without hesitation. Clearly, he didn't plan to go back to the original Priot team. Yemo was a bit disappointed, but he knew this Tao actualization divine emperor wasn't lying to him. "Qianbei, if there's nothing else, Wan Bei will be leaving," this Tao actualization divine emperor said carefully. Yemo sneered. "You offended my friend as soon as you came here and slapped her. Do you think I will let you go so easily?" Hearing Yemo's tone get fierce again, the Tao actualization divine emperor quickly explained, "Qianbei. Wan Bei really didn't know he was Qianbei's friend. If I did, I would never." Yemo waved his hand. "Bring out the culprit for this incident and leave." "Yes, yes." This Tao actualization divine emperor quickly took out 6 refined heart herbs and left, not daring to say anything. Qingru sneered. "This guy said he gave one to Sister Being, but now he took out 6. Mu Xiaoyun smiled and said, "He finally took it out himself." While they were talking, Xianxia and them were completely dumbfounded. A Tao actualization divine emperor calling Yemo a Qianbei. Was Yemo a Tao essence divine emperor? Although Tao essence divine emperor wasn't rare at the Shadow Void Castle, but in the divine Tao realm, there were very few Tao essence divine emperor. Qianbei, Xianxia called out. Clearly, he thought Yemo was a Tao essence divine emperor. Otherwise, how could a Tao actualization divine emperor call him Qianbei? Yemo quickly waved his hand. "Our cultivation level is about the same. No need to call Qianbei. Xianxia sighed. I was wondering why that guy was so scared of Brother Yi. He probably suffered in your hands, right? Emo nodded, that's right. This guy is a void priot. I was stopped by a group a decade ago. He was one of them. Brother Yi, you encountered void pirates? Xianxia asked in shock. His voice was so big that the surrounding people all heard. Emo waved up a few sound barrier restrictions and said, that's right. There was 11 of them. I killed 7 and 4 ran away. This guy was one of the 4. Hearing this, Xianxia took in a cold breath. Emo was ganged up on by 11 divine emperors and still killed 7. What cultivation level was this? This was too scary. Emo didn't explain the specifics and wanted to ask Gu Being about the lightning fire treasure sand. Gu Being bowed and thanked. Thank you, Brother Yi, for helping. Emo quickly said, this is no big deal. I heard Immortal friend Gu has a lightning fire treasure sand. That's useful to me. Before Emo finished, she took out a blue or to Emo, Brother Yi, I have no need for this. You can have it. Seeing this, Emo took it and took out the 6 herbs. However, he didn't give it to her and said, Immortal friend Gu, I know you want these herbs, but if they aren't made into refined heart pill, their use is very limited. Gu Being said dejectedly. I know, but it's too hard to find a Tao nourishment pill divine who can make it. Emo said, I took your lightning fire sand, so these 6 herbs belong to you. If Immortal friend Gu trusts me, let me keep them for now. Tomorrow I will give you a refined heart pill. Gu Being immediately looked at Emo in shock and asked, Brother Yi is a Tao nourishment pill divine? Emo was definitely a Tao molding pill divine, and he could reach Tao nourishment pill divine easily. He just got large amounts of God spirit herbs recently. Emo nodded, that's right, I am. Gu Being didn't doubt this at all and quickly said, of course I'm willing. Even if Brother Yi just gives me 2 pills, I'm willing. Okay. In that case, we'll gather here tomorrow. Emo saluted with his fists and said, is Brother Yi leaving now? Xianxia asked. I want to find a place to rest for 2 days and see if there's anything good at the castle. Emo said. Xianxia quickly said, Brother Yi, if you want to find good things, I suggest you go to the Zhang Su Dao Exchange Social. Zhang Su Dao Exchange Social? Emo asked in confusion. Xianxia nodded, that's right. It's a place for exchange divine Dao spirit items. It happens once every half a month. Today is the day. There are wealthy divine emperors from all races. They come here to exchange what they need. However, there's one thing. Where is it? What thing? Emo immediately knew this was where he wanted to go. It's 10 kilometers down this alley, but it's not cheap to go in. Every person needs to pay 300k top-grade god crystals to go in each time. Xianxia answered. Emo sighed. It's a very high price, but this was bearable to him. He planned to let Mu Xiaoyun and them go in. He didn't want to save that little bit of god crystals. Husband, are you going there now? Mu Xiaoyun asked worriedly. Emo quickly said, I'll take you guys in as well to broaden your views. Xianxia said too. Since Brother Yi is going, I'll go with you too. Immortal friend Gu and Xian. Why don't you all come? To be able to go with a master and a pill divine like Emo, of course the 2 were willing. They immediately said, of course we're willing. In that case, we'll go there for a spin. Maybe we'll get something good. Emo said and then took out a pill to Gu Being, Immortal friend Gu. This is a poison remedy god pill. After you use it, the poison mark on your face will disappear quickly. Thank you, Brother Yi. Gu Being said. The Zhang Su Dao Exchange Social was very famous at the castle. Those who came to the castle pretty much all went to the Zhang Su Dao Exchange Social. You could get anything you wanted here as long as you had good things too. The group of 7 stood before the Zhang Su Dao Exchange Social. The door wasn't big, but there was an immortal emperor who was almost falling asleep sitting at the door. Before Emo spoke, Xianxia passed a storage bag. The immortal emperor took it and nodded. Okay. The group walked in from the small door but found the inside was very luxurious. It was extremely spacious and every seat was extravagantly decorated. People could enjoy all sorts of top immortal fruits, teas and wines. Every seat had a human-like puppet that served you. EMO and them came in rather early and the social hasn't begun. There were just a few Tao Molding Divine Emperor and Tao Nourishment Divine Emperors. When EMO and them sat down, a few puppets already poured them wine and brought fruits over. Despite Qing Ru being only immortal monarch, no one felt strange. At this place you could come in as long as you had god crystals. Xianxia came to the castle early, so he knew more people than EMO did. He introduced the rules at the social. Usually, don't fight with stronger people over items if it wasn't something important. After the deal is done, you could not regret. As they spoke, more and more people came in. When an old man and a man shrouded in black qi came in, no one spoke here. Even Yi Mo's eyes narrowed. These two were definitely Tao Essence Divine Emperor. Their qi was too powerful. More and more strong people came. EMO even saw 6 Tao Essence Divine Emperors, much less Tao Actualization Divine Emperor. Other than those two, there was a middle-aged man who emitted this cold qi appeared. EMO guessed this person came from the abyssal realm, but he knew he didn't have the right to talk to such person. A seductive woman who was almost on par with Qing Ru came in. EMO guessed she was a Tao Essence Divine Emperor too. The only difference between Qing Ru is that Qing Ru looked extremely pure. This woman came in and immediately saw Qing Ru. She exclaimed, "Such a pretty human female." But she just said that and found a place to sit down. Xianxia and them didn't dare to say a thing. Many divine emperors came in and used masks to mask their qi. EMO was helpless. He didn't have some mask to change his face. Plus, he brought Qing Ru and them here. Seeing all these powerful beings here, EMO had decided to not buy anything unless there was something he really needed. An hour later, 80% of the seats here were filled. At this moment, the door of the Tsang Su Dao Exchange Social closed. A Tao Essence Divine Emperor woman got up and said, "Welcome everyone to the Tsang Su Dao Exchange Social. The social begins now. You may leave halfway, but you won't be able to come back in again." A Tao Actualization Divine Emperor, who wore a black hair tie, got up and saluted with his fists before taking out a 30 centimeters fist-thick black staff. Broken Lotus Demon Candle. "I'm willing to trade for middle-grade flying god artifact or armor. If there's anything better, I'm willing to add in more." EMO knew this was a level 12 immortal material. It was material for forging top-grade or even extreme-grade god artifact. It was suitable for demon race divine emperors. After a few seconds, no one spoke. The candle was good and was worth a middle-grade god artifact, but forgery grandmasters and pill concoction grandmasters were rare anywhere. What was rare here wasn't the top materials, but the people who could turn them into top-grade god artifacts. EMO wasn't planning to trade it, but seeing no one was willing to bid, he was interested. He had no middle-grade flying god artifact, but he had a middle-grade god artifact armor. He got it from the Void Pirates. He also got 2 more low-grade flying god artifacts from them. Compared to the armor, he liked the low-grade flying god artifacts better. He was a immortal god body peak stage and armor wasn't very helpful to him. The Tao Actualization Divine Emperor was disappointed and about to put the candle away when EMO said, "I have a middle-grade god artifact armor. Have a look, immortal friend." EMO handed the armor to the puppet next to him. The puppet brought the armor up to the Divine Emperor. The Tao Actualization Divine Emperor opened the armor and frowned, but moments later, he still gave the candle to the puppet. "I'll trade." EMO rejoiced. He knew why the Tao Actualization Divine Emperor frowned. This middle-grade god artifact was a bit broken and would cost some god crystals to repair. If he couldn't find a forgery divine, he would just have to wear it like that. In the higher realms, forgery divines were separated based on their ability to forge god artifact. If one could forge low-grade god artifact, then he was low-grade forgery divine. If he could forge extreme-grade god artifact, then he was extreme-grade forgery divine. EMO's 3 birth chant was very powerful and he learned pill concoction and forgery countless times faster than others. However, he got limited materials, so even now, he was still only top-grade forgery divine. The next item was 7-colored god water. It was a precious god spirit item. Even if it wasn't concocted into a pill, it could help with learning Tao and was beneficial even to Tao Essence Divine Emperor. Emo already exchanged for an item and didn't want to stand out too much. So despite wanting the water a lot, he resisted the urge to bid. This thing was much more popular than the candle and many people started bidding for it. Soon, it was bought by a Tao actualization divine emperor with 10 million god crystals and a material Emo really wanted. Third thing was shining sun mist steel. Another thing Emo wanted but a Tao essence divine emperor wanted it. Fourth thing how ran light wave Lu. Also something Emo wanted but two Tao essence divine emperors were fighting over it. Fifth, sixth, Emo found in shock that everything that appeared here was something he desperately wanted. However, he had to give up facing these powerful beings. When the seventh thing 9-star bamboo came out, Emo couldn't resist anymore. This could be used to concoct Tao Star Pill. It was a necessity for Mu Xiaoyun who cultivated primordial chaos chant. Mu Xiaoyun was about to vindicate Tao. With the Tao Star Pill, she would definitely succeed. Emo had made up his mind to get this.